Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the show today. Very happy to have you all here. Hopefully, everyone is having themselves a wonderful weekend. For you guys, of course, mine is over, but my weekend was nice and quiet. I just kind of stayed home and didn't do much. My wife was running around doing stuff, but she's kind of busy with the old folks, because we're at that age where the old folks are still clinging, you know. Um, we have it looks like I'm not going to give details, but it looks like I might be being sent in to deal with a problem.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Well, you know how you have
Uh-oh.
those. Well, you know, I have those scammers that'll show up to old people's house and try to sell them something and way
Yep.
overcharge them. Yeah, well, that
Mm-hmm.
happened, and
Uh-oh.
I said, give me an address.
Yeah, they would get my parents on a regular too. That's a whole multi-billion-dollar industry scamming old people out of their money.
Yeah, but they
It's
came to our
disgusting.
house, right? It is disgusting, and I'm going to go down and I'm going to pay a visit to their little
I'd say hi. How you doing,
I'm
friends?
going to put my black suit on, just so you know.
You got red tie. You should red tie it. Black suit, red tie it.
Oh
Hitman
no,
it.
no. Black suit, black shirt, black tie,
Oh no,
Ray-Bans.
Grim Reaper.
Oh
Straight
yeah,
Grim Reaper.
I ain't even playing, dude. Ain't even playing. They got to get all 6'3" of me too, because
That's funny.
but no, fuck that, right? Um,
Right.
but um, but no, it's a weird thing because we all don't clean up the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now I have to wear suits in my job at various different parts of my job. But when I'm dealing with the kids, I usually don't wear a suit. I semi dress down. I don't completely dress down, but I'll wear a button up, but I won't wear a tie or a jacket and stuff like that with the kids. So most of my day is spent, in a more casual way. Not not like now, right? Because when I'm around the house, I just wear shorts and a t-shirt, right?
Right.
But I never wear those things in public. But I don't wear the suit all the time. I'm just one of those people that when I put a suit on, it just suits me. I'm one of those types, 'cause not
Right.
everyone looks great in a suit, right? For some
Not
reason,
true.
it really hits off. The problem is, I no matter what I do, when I put a suit on, I do look like mafia. So it is what it is,
Mafioso. He's got that mafioso build.
I guess.
He's a paisan, this guy.
I guess, yeah, a tall one. But yeah,
Yeah,
no,
them Italians ain't very tall.
no, they're not. So I would be a very rare one. I'd be Christopher Walken version. But of course,
You,
according to Dreyfus, he's an eggplant. So
yeah,
no,
no.
no, you didn't get that
Nope.
reference, did you? Okay, that's a good
Nope.
movie,
We're not
dude.
going there.
Yeah, it's a
Not
good
going
movie,
there.
dude. It's a good movie. But yeah,
Hey,
I
Roger.
hate
How you
that
doing,
shit.
buddy?
It pisses me off, man, when people take advantage. I don't like cruelty, right?
No. No.
And
Especially to, the elderly. There's no,
kids, yeah,
yeah, children, the elderly. There's no excuse. Now, a crazy bitch getting got, I'm okay with. You have more of a white knight in you, it's fine. How you
that
doing,
shit.
buddy? I'm
It
okay with
pisses
it
me
because
off,
the
man, when
bitches is
people
crazy. But an old
take.
person, or a child, no, no. Especially the old people who end up very often basically like children, right? They revert
Right,
as they
which
get
is
older.
kind of where we are, right? I mean,
Yeah,
the old man is in the hospital and he won't come out of it.
right.
And the mother, she's kind of in, it depends on the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
that's it.
that's rough. That's
Yeah, we all end up there. We all end up
yep.
there, right? So, it is what it is. But
Well, some people still keep their function. They just usually lose their physical aptitude, like their bodily. I've known a lot of people who are old and their mind was still fine. It was just
it
their
happens.
body
But I
shut
mean,
down on
you
them.
know what I mean. A lot of people do end up there.
Yeah,
And it's all right. It is what it is. But
I really do think a better fate is to die a little younger.
yeah,
I think we live too long in the modern world. I don't see much benefit to being 80, 90 years old, even late 70s, really, unless you're still fully functional like a Trump or something, right? I just
well,
don't see. I
right.
don't what is the gain from that life? I just want to keep living. Why? You can't even live if you're a
All right.
your brain isn't
Well,
working.
I mean, if you're, in you're 30 years old in your prime and you're 280, rock on, buddy, right?
Right.
But that's not what we're talking about. But for those of you who are religious, and of course, it's not just the Bible that talks about these things, but we'll reference the Bible because most of you is guess where you're coming from. But of course, in the
Yep.
Bible, the original folks were living, anywhere from 700 and 900 years, right? And then all that, you had the several uh, different cascades of fallen angels happening on the earth, and then of course the whole Nephilim thing, and God came out and said, "All right, it's enough of that. It's enough. I'm limiting your age to 120." Which is something that everyone references. But what they miss is in Psalms. I think who is talking is Moses, I think. But in
David.
Psalms, is it David?
Yeah.
Talking about that God had at that point limited us to 70 years, 80 if you're strong. So
Hmm.
the Bible does and other sources, not just the Bible, it does calculate and very well state the different modes of human longevity over time, and they're quite
Right.
accurate actually. So it is interesting to that. But yeah, no. So as far as the Bible is concerned, you have 70 years, 80 if you're strong. So if you're living beyond that because of modern medicine, which awesome, man, you are pushing the limit, right?
Right. And I
So
honestly don't see, like I said, I see very little benefit for most people. Now, there are exceptions, of course. There's people who are still killing it up there. I know there's people out there who run marathons and stuff in their 90s, and even at 100, I've seen a few people, but those are the extreme outliers. The vast majority are going to be,
sure.
near invalid, if not full invalids by that point.
Well, of
Um,
course, George Burns at 96 was still making jokes about getting it in the hole. So
right.
get him George.
Go
Hey,
George. But no, it's one of those very interesting things because so much of the modern world is very ageist. They talk, especially you got lefties out here, and they'll talk about bigotry this, bigotry that, bigotry this, bigotry that. But every single one of them is ageist against old people. I promise you.
oh,
And
well, it's pretty normal though.
yeah, and
We're moving a
my point
generation,
is
right?
why why would you want to be old? Personally, I just don't. I've never. I know some people, and what I mean by that is there's people who all they want to do is just keep living. Like they'll do anything. They'll do anything at all to
Right.
keep living. They'll pump themselves full of a bunch of bullshit. Just whatever. Keep living. Get themselves on all sorts of machines. I don't want to die. I'm good.
Yeah,
I've said before, and I've meant it. If something ever happens to me where I need to be on a machine to survive, let
let
me
me,
die.
baby. Yeah.
Let me die.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of another thing too, because I've seen this firsthand, right? As if you, and like with her dad,
Yep.
over the past 20 years, or especially past decade or so, he's really become quite a bit of a hypochondriac, right?
Yep.
Because of that phenomena, right?
Right.
Now he is in the final stages, and he's very morbid, right?
Right.
With his mentality. Now, of course, I feel that I personally would never be like that. I would be obstinate, if anything.
Mm.
But you never know. You never know. But it does come for all of us. It is what it is. But yeah, no, I agree with you. It's no need to cling that hard. But the problem is when modern medicines and stuff, we are being prolonged for and who knows what
Well, and
they figure out. They might
if
figure
you
some
don't
stuff
give
out.
them express, sometimes even written instructions, they'll prolong you. Just not like just that's just what they do. They'll keep you alive.
They will do
And,
that, and
and
that's a whole nother conversation. You're right. Yeah.
yeah, I personally think we maybe have gone a little too far with our obsession. Like if somebody's in their 80s or 90s and they got something happens to them, and you got to do all this work just to keep them ticking for another day, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, what are we actually? To me, we're wasting resources at that
Well,
point.
there is a little interesting thing about this that I just read in a newsletter, or not, well, science people's newsletter, right?
Yeah.
We share these things with each other, right? It was just a paper, a research paper, a anthrogenetic paper, right, that I was reading not very long ago. It must have, I don't know, 2 weeks ago. But
Right.
and it's coming out of Russia. At least in the science world, we're still allowed to speak to our Russian brothers. You know, everywhere else, I
Mm-hmm.
guess you're not allowed. But because Russia bad. But anyway, I was reading a paper from a Russian guy, and of course, you'll never guess what his name was ever.
Uh,
Impossible.
Vladimir.
No, Ivan Ivanov.
Oh, Ivan, of course.
I laughed, like I'd never
Uh,
actually spoken to him. I was just reading a paper, right? But I was
right.
like, really, Ivan, and it's not just Ivan, it's Ivanov, Ivan Ivanov,
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Ivan, son of Ivan.
That's like
Jesus,
that's like if I was named Steven Stevenson.
yeah, right, right. Of course, me being Chester, that wouldn't be great. That would
Chester
be
Chesterton.
Chesterton. Well, that would be of the city of the castle. I guess it would make sense, wouldn't it? Yeah. But anyway, I read in the paper now. This paper is actually a follow up, because there was way back when in the '90s, late '90s, and they had the Genome Project was just getting kicked off, and we were getting a lot of information, and of course at that time, because the Berlin Wall had fallen, the Russian Federation was going, and there was just chaos because the oligarchs were trying to take everything, and of course eventually Putin killed them all, and he made himself the singular oligarch, as you do. Uh,
Yeah.
but because of all that chaos, we actually had an open window there for, I'd say about 20 years or so, where we had access to all the data, dude, everything. Now there were a lot of Soviet documents that were redacted, but we still had the bulk of the information on many, many things, right? And there's a whole bunch of interesting little things that came out of that study, actual scientific study that you probably never heard of. But I'll talk about one of them. And that's what this paper was on. So back then, they got some information because the Russians were also doing DNA research. Keep in mind, yes, they're Soviets, but the Soviets were all about science, and they would
Right.
throw money at any department, really. Right? They weren't really specific. I'm sure they gave more care to their weapons department than anything, but they were pretty pro science in general. And there was money to go around, and of course, their geneticists were about the same level as ours, right? Maybe a little behind. And they were going around, and they had their own little genome project that was actually further ahead than ours was, but only in Russia, or excuse me, the Soviet Union. And they had been mapping everybody, right? And then we had under Clinton, right, the Genome Project, where not the Genome Project, but we had completely mapped the human genome under Bill Clinton, right? He made a big deal about it as if he had done something, right? But they stole that, which everybody steals from the Americans. It's we don't really have very good security if you haven't noticed. But
Yeah.
and they applied that information to their data, therefore just expounding greatly upon what they'd already collected, right? And they were mapping everything, and everything was pretty much exactly what you would imagine it would be. You got these people over here that have Asian in them. You got these people over here that have that Arabic and Persian, Turkic in them, right? As you would expect, right? But then all of a sudden, they started getting R1b haplogroup. Now, I know you don't know what that means, but I'll help you. R1b are the Celts. Now, I don't mean the Aryans, I mean the Celts, right? The
Yeah.
West Europeans, the Irish, the Scots, the Welsh, right? That
The
group,
Scotsman.
right?
Yep.
And it's like, what the hell is that doing in the middle of Russia? That's weird.
Mm.
But then they
How'd that
started.
get there?
That's right. So that was a kind of weird little thing. And another group in the West got a hold of this information because now we're sharing information, right, at that point. And they did a whole report on it. I think got a dozen, maybe 12 citations as well, which is quite a bit for a little paper. And in that paper, what they found was yes, there is R1b haplogroup is in there, but it's a substrate. And it was the first time anyone had used that term. And now it's a pretty common term here, nearly 30 years later, 25 years later. And what a substrate mean is it's the underlying color of the DNA, right?
Mm.
That and
Hmm.
with that, the only way that happens if you have a large enough population that lasts for many, many, many generations. And of course, we know exactly because we can actually track when. I'll get to that in a minute. But and therefore everything that comes after migration, whatever happens, that signature, that substrate signature stays in there, right? Doesn't matter who comes in, doesn't matter who's making babies with who, that stays in there, right? That's what we're talking about. And but they found it was a substrate, it was underlying, and they were able to track it exactly. And of course, the big surprise that came out of it was, like, all right, well, maybe those Celts were just further spread, and this was thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of years ago. No, okay, maybe, but that's not true. Do you know when that population popped up and when it disappeared?
Tell me. Hit me with it.
1400 to 1830. Now,
Curious.
curious. Now, if you understand anything about what I'm hinting at, you will understand that in the 1830s, everything that was the of Tartary, right,
Mm.
was wiped off all the maps. No one talked about it. You have to go dig. You got to go look at stuff like you got to go look at like for instance shipwrights. And when they build their little what's it called there when they build the ship in and then they flood it? What do they call that?
They flood it?
Yeah, well, they build the ship in it, then they flood it, and the boat floats.
Oh,
Uh,
a dry dock?
dry
No.
dock. Yeah, yeah, no, no, you're
Is it
right.
dry dock?
Dry
Yeah,
dock,
yeah.
dry dock. Now, a dry dock is a very specific. It's a very interesting bit of information for you because obviously, if the dry dock is too small, but the boat won't fit, and if it's
Right.
too big, the amount of extra bracing and everything you have to do is just cost prohibitive, right?
Yeah.
So when you have a dry dock, you want it to be a dry dock that's for a model of a ship that you're specifically building. That's how those things work, right? They're
Right.
not just random, right? And of course, you find dry docks over in the Black Sea, the Caspian, that are just for 600, 1,000-foot ships. Way back
Yep.
when the best thing we had was 200, right? This kind of information you can find. It's all over the place. It's like the Mandela effect, right? Everybody goes on about the Mandela effect. But if you just go back and look at old newspapers, magazines, commercials, they're not even a Mandela effect. Because today it says, oh, Fruit of the Loom never had a cornucopia. Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. It's not, so the question is, what the hell are you doing, Google? What's the point, Fruit of the Loom? Why lie about it? Because we can look and see that you did have that, right? So it's kind of like that. So you can track information of very weird stuff that's still right in your face. But in general, the records of a Tartary had been kind of removed. And to the point of my generation, they taught us in history class about Tartary.
Mm.
But after the younger generations, like for instance, did they teach you anything about Tartary in school?
No.
No.
Now, the first time I heard about Tartary, believe it or not, I was playing a video game. So
Hmm.
there's, Paradox. They make the big grand strategy games.
Sure. Yeah, I
They
like
have their
Paradox.
Yeah, they have their Crusader Kings game, and I was playing Crusader Kings, one of them. I don't remember which one. I think the first one. And in there, you could form Tartary, and I said, or Tartaria, and I was like, what the hell is Tartaria? I've never heard of this. And it was this huge. You had to have this huge territory, right? That
Right.
covered all that area. And I'd never heard of it before. I was like, "What? They just make this up?" So I looked it up, and then that's where for the first time I ever heard it was it had to be almost at least 15 years now, maybe more ago, and I was playing a video game, and because it was something I'd never heard of before, I googled it and looked it up, and that's the only reason I ever heard of it at all. Before that, all I ever heard of was like you would hear it, but nobody like gave it context to what it was. You would just hear like there was. I can't remember. I heard somebody say something about Tartarian architecture or something when I was
Right.
like in late high school, and I just put it out of my mind because I didn't know what they were talking about, and that was the end of it.
Right.
But then I saw the Tartaria, the Empire of Tartaria, you could make in that game, and I said, "What the hell is this?"
Right.
And lo and behold, a little deep dive, and I said, "Well, wait a minute." I said, "Now wait a minute. How come
Right.
nobody talks about this?"
How come no one talks about it now? Of course, past 15 years, it's been expunged
Yeah,
even more, to the point that you go do Google search and stuff like that. It's like the only thing they give you is the fact that, oh, it's just a region of Central Asia that just had roaming nomads, and it's just kind of a like saying Asia or Pacific, right?
right.
That's where we've gotten today. They don't even mention that the most commonly spoken language in Russia is Tartarian today,
Right.
right? They don't even mention that, right? But anyway, Tartary stuff is kind of fun, and a lot of people are having fun with it. And of course, there is something there. Like I said, when I was a kid, they taught us about Tartaria, the empire of Tartary, right?
Mhm.
But nevertheless, so they found this substrate, okay? And they were just going on with this Russian population, and they put a paper out. Okay, fine. And then like a dozen years later, I don't know, 2010, 2015, somewhere in there, another paper came out, which I read, right? And that paper took that information, and then what they did is they got smart, and they looked at where are all these markers, because the Russians are Russian. They're quite thorough, you know, they're rather picky that way, if you didn't know. And they were trying to look at where is this coming from, and what they did was they took a map and overlaid it onto the genetic mapping, right? And they found that all that R1B stuff was perfectly within the border of Tartary. Perfectly. I mean, it's as if the border was written with genetic code, right? Freaky, right? Well, we had a new paper come out here just recently here in 2026, like I said, and it's following up on that paper. Now, understand this is a paper with anthrogeneticists. We all know this one. No one talks about it, but we all know, right? Because we've all read it, right? And here now we have another study group doing more extensive work, once again with their Russian brothers, actually a mixed team. And what they have found is not only is the substrate still there, it is dominant. And if you go to this region, what you'll see is people who kind of look like Turks, kind of the Turk skin color, which they are Caucasian anyway, right? But the vast majority of them have blue eyes, as is very standard with the Celts, right? The Gallic people. And they just did a much deeper dive, and we literally have the entirety of the Tartarian population still sitting square where it was, but now they're all just dirt poor and thrown in, just slapped in the face. But they have 100% confirmed the genetic signature of Tartaria. Now, isn't that interesting? Now, they didn't use the word I just used. Understand that, right? But that
Right.
they're saying it without saying it, right? Because that region is Tartary, right? And I just thought it was really, really interesting that we have what is that, 30 years? 30 years, three papers, four really, if you take the Russian stuff. And so all these Tartarian seekers, because the internet's full of them, right? And with AI, they're just making up crap now, right? But they're all desperate, and it's like, well, dude, maybe you should take some time and look into real science, because a lot of these guys over time have become very anti-science because they feel they're being lied to, which, I get it. But you should keep your eye, one eye peeled, right? Because that succession of 30 years of papers culminating in the one that just came out from actual anthrogeneticists, real geneticists, right? They just solved your entire problem for you.
Right.
Isn't that interesting? So yes, Tartary was real. Of course, we know it was, but it's officially was real, and they even had a people. Now the question is, how the hell did it end up being a bunch of freaking Celts? You would, I mean, because if they came out as being part of the Aryan haplogroup, which of course is very similar to R1b group, I would be, yeah, okay, sure, right? It makes sense, right? Those reindeer hunters, right, going back and forth across the plains. It would make
Yeah.
perfect sense to me. Matter of fact, that's kind of what I guess they were, right? But no, well, when I was young, but no, it's a bunch of damn Celts. So explain to me how that happened, because that's very curious. Because those Aryans that were running back and forth, they wouldn't put up with that shit. They wouldn't. They would just ride you over and cut your head off and put it on a frickin' pole, right? Those guys were brutal, brutal. You think the Native Americans were savage? Shit, right? But of course, the interesting thing is that population shows up at 1400, which of course is way after the Aryan movements, thousands and thousands of years, right? So what happened 1400, 600, 700 maybe years ago, where a whole bunch of damn Celts, a sustainable population of Celts, left from Western Europe, the Isles, ended up, east of what we consider Russia, right? Not Russia
Yeah.
proper, east of it, right? In the the old Muscovy provinces, and dominated everything for 400 years. What the fuck is that? Because you got to keep at the same time, you have the damn Ottomans, right? You have the whole Napoleonic shit going on, right? At the end of that. So, and that's probably what ended it. But how did that happen? That's weird, dude. Don't you think?
It is strange.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how it happened. It's one of those oddities of history that'll probably never be explained.
Yeah,
It's
it's very bizarre, dude.
strange. And what's the strangest part about the whole Tartaria thing is it's obviously real. It was
Oh
obviously a
yeah.
real place, a real people, and a real language, and it always was. But yet, for a very long time, it was considered fanciful, I guess, uh, or at least it was not allowed to be spoken of as legitimate. Like, why was this not talked about in school? Like you said, you learned it. I didn't learn it, but yet we talk about Rome, we talk about Greece, which was never even really an empire, but yet we all call it that, the Greek Empire, but that wasn't a thing.
No.
Um,
Well, not until the
we
Byzantines, and of course, Byzantines
right
come into this
was
conversation because that's interesting you mentioned that, because the Byzantines, of course, was the first Greek, Hellenic actual empire,
yes,
right?
yes,
And that's just Eastern Rome, right? But it was.
right,
Now, do keep in mind something that they never want to talk about, that those Greeks are all coming from Semitic populations. They are Jews. They are,
yeah, many of them,
right?
yeah,
Yeah. It's where they come, especially the leadership. They're all Jews, or the Hyksos or Hebrews, right? But of course, we know they had the Byzantine Empire, and we know around the same time as this 1400 is when the Ottomans took Constantinople, right? That's what
right,
history tells us, right? But yet, at that exact same moment, you have a giant population from Western Europe marching into the middle of, I mean, literally Central Asia and just take, nah, this is my shit. Huh?
We're just going to be here. We're just going to be here now. Okay. Yeah, I
So,
don't know.
yeah, it's
I don't
weird,
know.
dude.
It's strange. There's something. It's kind of like, how we know a lot of the Crusades weren't really what they sold them as, right? That they were really there to find things. In a lot of what, like the Templars and stuff, and all the raids they did on the Holy Land, wasn't really about the Holy Land itself necessarily. They were looking for relics and stuff.
They
Um,
were, and they were also looking for legitimacy.
yes. So it's just interesting how much of, like, we know, like the hunts for Mercury that the Mongols and them were doing, and really all
Oh,
kinds of people were doing.
everybody
Uh,
was doing that.
yeah,
Yeah.
the Mercury thing is another interesting one because it's one of those things. It was the MacGuffin of history that all these empires were chasing constantly, and yet again, we don't talk about it like that. We use it in thermometers. That's all we really talk about.
Well,
Uh, which is weird because why? Why were they so obsessed with Mercury?
they
What was it?
were, and the most recent addition to that list of, leaders and rulers who are desperately hunting Mercury, including Alexander the Great, right? I mean,
Yep.
the hunting Mercury was a thing has been a thing for thousands of years. Well, I've mentioned here little by little about Van Lyck and of course in Turkey, and they're starting to release information now, so it's become public. So any NDA I'm under are going away, right?
Right.
Which is great because I can start talking about stuff that I've gotten from friends and people who are involved. Because remember, there was a point there I was thinking about literally abandoning my entire family to go to frickin' Turkey, right? If you
Right.
recall years ago, right? But anyway, so information is coming out of there. Now, of course, that place is really interesting because all those, Atrahasis, Noah and his family, all those names are written everywhere, by the way, if I haven't mentioned
Yes.
that already. So it's literally history coming into contact with science. The archaeology and the stories have glued themselves together in a beautiful way. But they're pulling a lot of just ridiculous stuff out of there. And we're finding the original religion out of there too, which I don't know how much I can talk about that. But it's just insane what's come out of Van Lake, right? But one of the things that is starting to become out in the news is those rulers over centuries, right? Because Van Lyck lasted a very long time. Over centuries, they were in a constant hunt for Mercury, right?
Yep.
And so is another one to the list. But here's the interesting thing with that, right?
Mm.
All these leaders you're talking about, Chinggis Khan, Alexander the Great, whatever, those are all within the past,
Napoleon.
what? And Napoleon, the
Yep.
Indians, the Southeast Asians, Qing Han, all the Chinese emperors, right? Um,
Yep.
but we're talking about what, 8,000 years of history when we talk about those peoples, right? Six, really, right?
Right.
However, Van Lyck, have you heard the date on Van Lyck yet?
I have not.
38,000.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And of course, what does that do? Because we've also found sphinxes, pyramid. Van Lyck is the future of archaeology. I've said this before. But keep in mind, Robert Schoch. You know who he is?
I've
Very
heard the
famous.
name.
Yeah, he's a famous geologist, and he got his hat put in with the archaeologists because some archaeologists went over and asked him, "Hey, dude, could you come look at something for us?" And he's like, "Sure," because he's a pretty well respected geologist. And they brought him over, and of course, what he looked at was the Sphinx, and he said, "Oh yeah, it's water erosion." And then, of course, Hawass and all the other Egyptologists lost their shit. You shut up, you stupid American, that kind of stuff. And he's like, "What are you upset at me for? It's obviously erosion." And then, of course, the rest of his life was stuck to the Sphinx, and he's still doing it, by the way. He's with a
Yeah.
new team now,
Oh
even though
boy.
they've gone more metaphysical. But nevertheless, um, you know, uh, even with him and him talking about one of the things, and several other, historians, is
Right.
the Sphinx was either built 12,000 years ago or 38,000 years ago, right? Because we have the grand procession being 26,000 years, right? And that means
Right.
that we go through every, like a clock, you go through every part of the zodiac, right? It's 26,000 years, right? 2,150 is one cycle. Like, for instance, we're currently in Pisces, we're going into Aquarius, right? And therefore, because of all the alignment, it's clearly a lion. It's clearly pointed right at Leo, facing it. I mean, yada, yada, yada. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff that confirms this. It was built facing directly at Leo. And the only times that's happened in feasible timeline is either 12,000 years ago or 38,000 years ago, right? Now, the interesting thing about that is Van Lake is all about the 38,000 years, and it has similar monuments that are tying themselves to the exact period. So, and that's coming after a 41,500, 42,000 years ago, really bad cataclysm, another one, which, we get a lot. But that cataclysm, all the evidence we have, and it's been confirmed, that's not a theory, this is actually confirmed, just like the one, the Younger Dryas event. That one was all water, though, whereas the Younger Dryas event certainly had, especially North America, there was a lot of flooding, but it was mostly fire from, we got hit with a meteor storm, right?
Right.
And now, the interesting thing about that, if you look at Solon, for instance, him talking to the Greek high priests, they mentioned that the world has been destroyed many times, often with water and fire, but sometimes just water. They said, right? So the leaning thinking is that Noah, as especially because Atrahasis is literally written on the frickin' walls in Van Lake, that 38,000, excuse me, 42,000 years ago event was the flood of Noah. 2.5, 3,000 years later, they built frickin', Egypt and just ridiculous monuments, right?
Right.
And the Younger Dryas event, which is 12,000 years ago, that was the fire and water destruction that all the other cultures talk about, right? Because we know it's significant. Because for a long time, not when was his name, Randall Carlson and his geology team had gone out and proved that 12,000 years ago there was a cataclysm, right? They proved it. Everyone's saying, "Oh, that must be Noah's flood," right? It must be, right? But now, with all the evidence piled up, nah, dude, the Van Lake site is a remembrance of the that flood, that particular cataclysm, right? And it's confirmed now, by the way. It's not theory anymore. They have confirmed it scientifically. The whole planet was just freaking just covered
Right.
in general. So it's really interesting what's coming out of that because Van Lake is turning out to be the Bible. So,
Yeah. You know, funny how that works.
funny how that works. But
Funny.
yeah,
I do wonder why Mercury specifically. I know Mercury
yeah,
obviously is
we don't know.
a very unique element. It's also incredibly dangerous, extremely toxic to humans. Uh,
Well,
it's very strange
yeah.
why Mercury.
It is. It is. I agree. Now, to be fair, they did find these giant altars, very similar to the ones we find in Egypt that they say the bulls are in, even though we've never found any trace of anything being inside of it. Those giant
Yes,
sarcophagus, right?
the big
Um,
black boxes. Yeah.
well, they found those in Van Lake too, but
Hmm.
the outsides are more ornately designed. They're quite beautiful,
Right.
actually. And in those, uh, they're perfectly clean inside, but on the outside, there is like these. They found golden rods. I mean, literally gold rods that
Yep.
are slipped into these boxes on the bottom and
Mm.
they found all kind of weird chemical residue inside these boxes and I don't know if I should talk about that, but the scientific technology has been proposed Let's
Yep.
just say that.
Yep.
In
I think that I genuinely
in
believe
quiet rooms.
that the ancients had, because we think we have this idea that our version of technology, right, specifically electronics,
Yeah.
is just a natural progression that everybody would get to. But it doesn't have to be. What if they had advanced technology that just broke off and went a different way? They had different things they did with the elements and with metallurgy, and
Right.
we know they did with harmonics. That's not even debatable.
Oh, sound,
Um,
stone, and
yeah,
water. They're what much better than we are. That's for sure.
yes,
That's true.
and their ability to build large structures is. I mean, we're
Oh
still
wow.
catching up.
Yeah, we're not there. Yeah, we're not there.
Yeah,
Um, and it is kind of interesting because there are some other really important things that come out of this because these information I'm giving you is confirmed information. It's, that they're not going to put a religious context to it at all. Trust that. They're not going to
they're
do
going to
that.
run from that.
They're going to
Yeah,
run away from that. However, we are confirming biblical names. We're confirming that cuneiform is tens of thousands of years older than they thought it was, which that's going to be a problem because I have seen stuff from Van Lyck that I can read.
yeah,
Right? You get me? That's
yeah.
32,000 years out of place, but I can read it. That's not right. That shouldn't be real. That right there is a big enough revelation for anything, really. But nevertheless, um, but the interesting thing about it is this, to me, Atrahasis, right, which of course we call Noah. What was
Yes.
the story? What happened with him? What was the end result? Now, the Bible
Well, in
story that we have. Oh, go
yeah.
ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, in the Bible story, he at the end. We're talking about the end of his
Yeah, yeah,
story.
yeah. The end.
The end of his story, he gets mad at a rock because it will not produce water on command for him. He
Is that
strikes said
is
rock.
that him or
That's in the
Moses? I
Bible.
think that's Moses in it.
I thought you said Moses. Who'd you
No,
say?
no, Noah.
Oh, Noah. I'm sorry. I thought you said Moses. Okay. Noah's story is very different. Noah, Noah has the flood situation. The world is so evil, so turned from God's will and way
Right.
that God decides that's enough. He's going to wipe out all living things on the earth, but in His mercy, He decides to save two by two of certain not every creature. That's where people misunderstand. Obviously, that's impossible. Certain creatures, including mankind, He does through our boy Noah. So He tells Noah, He says, "Hey Noah, I'm gonna flood the world. Build an ark." Tells him how to build the ark. By the way, that's the part that other people leave out too. Noah doesn't just figure this out. God tells him how to do
Oh
this.
yeah, gives him
An
very specific blueprints. Actually,
very
very specific.
specific how to do it. Tells him exact measurements, and Noah does it over a very long period of time. Everybody mocks him as he's building it because what do you build a big boat for? Everything's fine. Blah, 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 blah. Eventually, the flood happens. Flood happens. Everybody dies except him and his family, allegedly. Right? That's the story. The beasts of the land survive on the ark. They're released. They repopulate. Him and his family repopulate. Each of the tribes of man, as it's said, tribes of man, come from the individual families of his sons, and that is the narrative of it. And then Noah goes on, and what does happen in Noah? Why can't I remember? My brain just blanked on it.
Well, let me help.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
Also, just as an aside, I will say, like I said, everything's coming out now. I don't know what I can mention and what I can't mention. I'm trying to be
Yeah.
careful because I don't want to get ahead of them anyway. That's their glory, right? But
Yes.
many years ago, just as an aside, they sent me a picture packet, right? With they had a digital camera, and they took a bunch of pictures, and they sent me a packet.
Mm-hmm.
And in that, there are a lot of great pictures, which would mean nothing to you, right? But
Right.
there was one that you might find interesting on one of the walls, and it's this whole temple is dedicated to God, of course, but also to Atrahasis, Noah, right? The whole temple is dedicated to Noah. And keep in mind, the majority of these temples in Van Lake are underground, right? Because you got to remember, what are the two symbols we see throughout history? We see, well, there's more than two. We got the door, we got the T,
Yep.
we have the step pyramid, we have the flame, the light, the holy light, and we have the circle, which represents life, right? These symbols, everyone's got them everywhere, all the time, right? Everywhere you go, you find these things, right? But so it's a temple to God, but it's also kind of honoring Atrahasis, right? And on
Sure.
one wall, it has a bunch of far more beautiful Mesopotamia, by the way. It's always weird. The further back in time you go, the more beautiful it is, right?
Yep.
It basically depiction of Noah and his family, right? Is what it is. On the other wall,
Hmm.
because there's a hallway going back into a holy of holy chamber, is what it is. But on the other wall, there is some. Just because you mentioned it, there is carved. It's a carving, right? It's one of those type of situations. There's
Yeah.
an ark on the wall, and around it are the measurements given by God
Interesting that, huh?
in that.
The
Now you're
exact measurements.
yeah, you're talking about it, and of course that I it came to my head like because I seen that
Yep.
picture, and of course
Well, it's
that
funny
same
because a lot of people leave that part out of the story,
they do.
right? There's a lot of people who, for some reason, that just goes in one ear and out the other. But what's happening in this situation is he is from divine revelation being told how to make a perfect ship.
Yep,
Perfect
yep.
ship.
And by the
And it
way,
is. It's perfect.
even though I do love a lot of the philologists who have been involved in translating Sumerian, and I love those men. They're very they're important for our history. Those guys, right? Like Dr.
Yeah.
Finkel and things like that. I have nothing but love for them. But they were really going with the kind of round tub, giant tub type of boat. Is really how they were trying to go with what the ark would look like. But the picture on the wall is exactly as you imagine it.
Yep.
Exactly, because it's the
Yep.
measurements given, right? But nevertheless,
It's a very, I mean, this is like the pedanticness of this description of how precise it's measured and labeled out. I mean, it's giving Tolkien a run for his money when it comes to
yeah,
his addendums and things. That we know exactly what the arc looked like,
right.
exactly to a T. Like there's no room for interpretation. We know precisely what it looked like. Uh,
We do. And
so I have a question in here in this Van Lake place, right? Apparently, it's got Noah stuff. Is there any mention of the rainbow?
I haven't heard any mentions of that. No,
Okay,
it's more of the Zoroastrian story
the
than
version of
the
it.
one
Yeah.
you got later. And I'll explain that here in a second. But one other thing that not just that picture, but not even that picture, was many other things in the temples. Temples. Keep that in mind. Hundreds
That's right.
of buildings. It's a gigantic city, right, that they've found. But nevertheless, one of the things that was always been an argument because I translate cuneiform, but I also interact and deal with Proto-Sumerian as well, right? But the problem with Proto-Sumerian, there's still a lot of questions. We cannot perfectly translate that. However, what we're seeing in Van Lake is cuneiform stuff, but an older version of it, and a little bit of the mixing of the Proto-Sumerian is still there. And one of the things it's not confirmed, but one of the things that they're really excited about is we've had a real hard time understanding what's a number and what's not a number, right?
Yep.
As far as that goes, and they've seems like they figured that out. So that's really cool, and that will come out in some paper or book or documentary here, probably all those things here in the next 5 years, I'm sure. But let me do the Atrahasis thing, right? Now he's Noah. Just keep it. It's Noah. I'll just use the word Noah, right? But the thing is, the Septuagint version or the translated Septuagint to King James that everybody knows here, right, is a extremely watered down version of the stories. It's almost
Yep.
as if it were written for children, right? And in a way, it probably was because the intent was for Gentiles, right? Non
Yep.
Jews, right? And therefore, Gentiles come in all different kinds of shapes and colors and languages and cultures and all kind of things. So simplifying it down to almost a symbology was what they did makes sense, right? because a more wider birth of people can comprehend it, right? You don't need to know old Hebrew, right? You don't need to know all the details of how math and metaphor and all that stuff plays in. They just generalized it, right? But there, of course, this same story is told many times going back in history. And the further back in history you go, the more detail we get, right? Because it becomes more and more of a historical documentation rather than a religious allegory, right? So
Mhm.
in Van Lyck, we have what it seems. They haven't given me all this information either, by the way. Keep that in mind. I'm not in the loop 100%, right? But the hints they've given me is we have the most clear version of these stories over there, written on the temple walls, because it literally, the people that came off that damn ark and built themselves up over time honored that moment, and they emblazoned it on stone, right? Is what they did. That's what we're finding in Van Lake. But Atrahasis, he doesn't talk about two of every animal being brought on. What happens is the, whatever you want to call him, the space god Enki, he has one of his Igigi servants, which are these giant, you know, I don't know, transdimensional alien, whatever the hell they are, bring a big giant box and put on the ark before they close it up. And in that box, it has me. A me is, well, honestly, the best way to explain it is like a data chip. That's what it is.
Mhm.
I know this is very ancient stuff, but that's how they describe it. It's a data chip, right?
Right.
In there are data chips and samples of the essence of every living thing on Earth. So it's not actual animals coming onto the boat. It's literally a box of DNA being put on the box on the boat,
Yeah.
right? Same story, just more detail. But also in there, which is a very important thing that the Bible, it kind of hints at, to be honest with you, but it doesn't say it as directly as the earlier stories. Not only were they given the essence of every living thing on earth, they were also given all the knowledge of man. And this was a controversial thing you have to keep in mind, because what pissed off the creator? Why did he send the angels down to set the Nephilim against themselves and chain the watchers? Why was he pissed? Was he angry that they went and took wives? Not really, right? They weren't supposed to do
Right.
that, but that wasn't what the creator was pissed off about. What he was pissed about was his pure little creatures he had, which there was a plan for their progression. They went down and taught them a bunch of shit that he didn't want them to have. That's
Mhm.
what pissed him off, right? And fair enough, you're messing with his experiment. I get it, right? I
Right.
remember when my kids were younger, our neighbor, very, very sweet man, really, really good man, hardworking man, great carpenter. He took the training wheels off my son's bike and taught him how to ride. Yeah,
Oh boy.
that pissed me off. That was my job, right? Well, I'm just saying it pissed me off, and he didn't do anything out of spite. He was just a very sweet man helping the kids. He
Right.
wasn't wrong, but he was wrong, right? I understand that in a human way, from what a creator might feel in the same way. Nevertheless, so, but it was very controversial because Atrahasis argued with his father, because keep in mind, in the Atrahasis story, he is half God, right? He is the son of Enki, right? And and a human woman. And he argued that, okay, you're going to preserve this, we're going to survive, but we have to rebuild. We need to keep our knowledge. And he argued the point, and Enki's brother Enlil freaking hates humans, right? He never
Right.
wanted them to make him. He argued the whole time against it, and he wasn't even supposed to be talking to Atrahasis, right? But he kind of did it where he's talking behind the wall and talking to himself, wink, wink, right? And inside that box was not only the essence of every living thing, but all the knowledge of man. It's very important
Hmm.
because At Van Lake, we're finding mentions of this, right? And we're
Right.
seeing, technological realities of this potentially, right? But in the end, what does that mean? Because keep in mind, from 38,000, right, which we know they were just humming right along, until 12,000, 20,000 years, or it's actually less than 12,000, but a good 20,000 years, they were rather uninterrupted. There were no cataclysm, there were no giant space rock storms, there were no big Earth events. They had 20,000 years to plug along. Imagine what we could do with that, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
here's the kicker for me though, because it's one of those things that you have to read between the lines. Scientists are now looking at that as being the golden age of man. They can't speak of it openly yet, but they will be soon. However, what it tells me is, obviously they did a lot of cool stuff during that time, but until the Younger Dryas cataclysms. But what it tells me is there was another golden age before that, because all the knowledge of man, the ability to literally in a box give stuff, and you say, well, God did that. Okay, well, sure. But that doesn't that also tell you that before that there must have been some amazing things going on as well,
Right.
right? And
Yeah.
of course, if you're a Bible studier and a Bible believer, well, it tells you that anyway, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, uh, yeah, I'm sorry to go off on this, but it's really cool, dude. If you like historical stuff, and also if you're a religious person, they're all coming together. I know these stories are not the King James perfect word of God, sorry, but they are the exact same stories. They just have more detail. And some people can't get beyond that though. They feel like, oh, the King James version is the unerrable word of God and yada yada yada. It's like, well, dude, it's a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. What are you talking about? But some people take
Well,
it very seriously.
like I've said before, many times, it's very clear in that very book that it says itself it is not the word of God.
No, it's not. It's
Yeah,
inspired
that's right. The only word of God mentioned directly, the word of the Lord, is Jesus Christ himself, meaning,
himself, which is a more
yeah,
recent event, much more recent
yeah,
event.
a
Because
more nuanced version of what they're doing there, of a creation
sure,
story, effectively.
sure. And of course, the none of these ancient stories, even though there's references to a coming, Messiah-like character, they don't talk about Jesus at all. This is all pre-Jesus stuff, right? All of it.
Right.
So, but it's anyway, it's really cool. If you like historical stuff, keep your eyes open. We're already starting to see it's already coming out. I've already seen several documentaries drop. There's a bunch of people involved in the teams already starting to do interviews and stuff like that. So, one of my friends said he was, or maybe he's already done it by now. That was a little while ago. There's some, I don't know who he is, but there's some dude on the YouTube. His name's Danny Jones. He's like kind of like a Joe Rogan-esque character, I guess. Um, he does interviews with stuff like this, and he's going to be on the Danny Jones show, or maybe he already was, and talking about what he's allowed to talk about. But it's starting to come out, is my point. You ever heard of this, Danny? I don't know who it is. You ever heard of this guy?
No, I never heard of it.
No, but he said he's got a big channel, like a million views type channel. So let's see here. Roger says, didn't Enoch? Wasn't he the one that actually wrote the actual Bible? No, no, not at all. I mean, he has his own books, and his story is interesting, and he does talk about a period, a lot of information in a period that we're talking about right now.
Right.
So he is related to this conversation, even though we haven't mentioned it. But yeah, but he didn't write the Bible. Bible? No, he didn't. Matter of fact, the oldest parts of the Bible we have, as far as storytelling and writing, has been put down by old kings and people like Atrahasis himself, Moses. Much later, of course. Moses is incredibly later. But and of course we know this. But actually, a lot of stuff also has been. It's weird because we say inspired by, but there are several books that are literally dictated by Enki himself, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting too. I mean, literally, he would have a scribe come in and dictate to the scribe and write it down. So I don't know, but you start getting in areas where you start losing religious people when we start getting these conversations because the older versions, same stories, but the older versions are much more science fiction-y. And these gods aren't actually gods; they're travelers, right? Powerful
Right.
ones. But keep in mind that if it helps, these travelers, right, from their own planet or their own dimension or whatever it is, right, they were religious. And who did they worship? Well, they had a name for their god. Do you know what it is?
What was it?
The creator of all. Therefore, these
Interesting.
godlike alien things were monotheistic and believed in the creator of all. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? Matter of fact, that's why Enlil in those stories is so pissed at what they're doing because he doesn't think they have a right. Because only God has the right to create life. Because keep in mind, in these stories, just like in your stories, the gods, not the creator, the gods made humans to be servants, right? They
Right.
manipulated DNA, is what the story says. And Enlil was very against it because only God, only the creator has the right to create life. He was
Right.
highly religious, is why he hated the creation that they had made, us.
Yep.
And do keep in mind with the Yahwehists, the Jews, there's actually two actual gods in their stories, even though most of them don't seem to know this. There is the Creator, right? Uh,
Mhm.
and there is also the dragon. And the dragon is not a very nice fella, you know. I don't know if I should get
Right.
into that, but the Bible, Old Testament, is full of some pretty nasty things from whatever that Yahweh thing was, that nasty thing.
Yep.
But keep in mind, the Elohim, the council, and the creator, which they venerate, is a very different thing from Yahweh. Yahweh is the old man
Yes.
of the mountain, the dragon, the great dragon. And there are many times he does murderous and horrible things. Shit, he literally killed two of Aaron's kids because they didn't get the smell of his censer correct. He literally opened his mouth and breathed fire upon them, burning them to a crisp. Moses is coming in with him and saying, "We got to get these bodies out of here. Don't lose your head. Don't yell and scream. You know how he is. He'll kill 1,000 of us." That's in the Bible, by the way.
Right.
That's not some other book or Enoch or anything like that. That's in the Bible. There are many examples of this Yahweh thing, killing and murdering and eating and well, just all kind of horrible shit, right? But
Hmm.
there's a very distinct. There is a distinction between that, the Elohim, and the Creator, right? And it seems a lot of people don't want to make that distinction, right? Now, Jesus
Right.
is a whole nother conversation. We're not talking about Jesus. We're talking about the Jews, the Old Testament, the Hebrews. What do Christians think about this? Because I'm not a Christian, so I don't really know. What do Christians think about this Yahweh character?
Well, most of them think he's just God. The theology of it is it's just another name for God. God has a bunch of different names
Yeah, but he's
in
an
Hebrew.
asshole.
Yeah.
When the
Uh,
Creator is mentioned, it's pure love, wisdom, Father, patriarchy. Those are the Creator is always in a beautiful light. Yahweh's an ass,
that's why there's
violent,
different names.
destructive. Yeah, that's
The
why there's
idea,
thing.
yeah, the idea that they that they have is that each name isn't. First of all, it's not his real name. Like the real name of God is unknown in the Bible.
Well,
It's
Lilith knows it.
well, right, but the rest of everybody else doesn't. And when Jesus Christ returns to reclaim the world at the end of the world during Armageddon, on his thigh it'll be written his real name,
Oh,
the real name of God,
that's true.
the true name of
Forgot
God.
that. I
So
completely forgot
yeah,
that. Good job.
so what they do is what they say is these other names are just titles more than names. Like Yahweh is just a title, Elohim is just a title. It's not the actual name of God because God's name is a mystery. It's hidden. Only the high priest knew it, and Lilith. And Jesus is the high priest in Christian theology. He is the last and only true priest of Melchizedek, the only true high priest who is said to be a child directly of God, one of the sons of God.
Yes, and the
And he
Muslims
was
agree
also
with that,
supposed to
by
be
the way.
immortal.
The Muslims
Yeah,
agree with that. He is the high
he was
priest.
supposed to be immortal, Melchizedek. He was,
Yeah.
he didn't die. And Jesus is his direct descendant in theology. Whether he is or not is irrelevant, but the theology of it. That's why he has the authority he does as a man. Plus, he's also the direct descendant of King David's line,
Of course.
so he has the authority over Israel directly. And then obviously he's the son of God, the Father, the Creator. But regardless, my point is what they believe is that God has many names. He's called by many names, but they're all the same God. It's just depending on what he's doing at that moment. Now, it is interesting that to the Muslims, they take that interpretation and they say that's ridiculous. There's only Allah, and all these other names are actually different gods, and they even call Christianity polytheistic because of the different names and the idea of the Trinity. They think all of that is not God. Their version of God, Allah, isn't that. He's just Allah. That's it. He doesn't have a son of God. There's no Holy Spirit. It's just Allah. So they call, if you listen to the Muslims, they'll say that Christianity is a polytheistic religion. It's not a monotheistic religion, and that's why they think it's false. Which is, that's their interpretation. Obviously, Christians would disagree with that because they have the Godhead, which is God is three separate entities, all that are all equal in the Trinity. There's God the Father, the Creator. There's God the Holy Spirit, and then there's Christ, Jesus Christ, the God the Son. And they have different names as well. Like Jesus himself has multiple different names. He has Emmanuel. He has Yeshua, Jesus, Christ, the Christ. Eventually, he'll have another name when he returns, which is when he takes the proper name of the Father and becomes the King of the universe, effectively.
Right.
And these sorts of things are why. Because in Hebrew, as you know, a lot of names are really everything, but we don't think of it this way. But a lot of names are very formal and coded. Yeah, that's the right word, coded. They're not necessarily just like, well, because when we think of a name, we don't even think about what it means usually, right? Most of us, it's just, I like the name John, or I like the name, well, yes, but you're a hyper autist about language. Most people just like the way a name sounds for the most part, right? Okay. Or it was their dad's name or their uncle or whatever, right? Whereas like my name translates to crown or crowned one, Stephen, that's what it means. But that's not why I'm named that. I'm named that because that was my father's name. My mother didn't think any deeper than that. She's like, yeah, there you go. Boom. Easy peasy. Like my grandmother didn't even mean to name my father that. She wanted to name him Stefan, but she spelled it wrong. So he was Stephen forever. that's a true story. But my point is, we don't think of that especially with English, right? Other places probably still do, I'd imagine. But in English, it's just not something that we don't consider names titles like that. But in Hebrew, they absolutely were, right? 100%. So that's where it comes from. It comes from the Hebrew tradition of many different titles for the same person, and the same being, right? Because, like, think about it. Like, Lucifer has multiple titles throughout the Bible that all just mean Lucifer. He's called the Morning Star. All sorts of stuff, like
the dragon,
the serpent, the great serpent, the deceiver. He's got all sorts of names, and it's the same idea. right? That to Christians, God has many different names that we call him that aren't really his name, and that's why they usually just call him God, because it's his primary title,
Well,
I guess you would say.
I guess I'm leaning into the idea, particularly because the New Testament is a different thing, right? We're not talking
Yeah.
about that. We're talking about the Old Testament. Um, I personally, because I read the older stuff, and they are
Mhm.
distinctly separated, right?
Right.
These are different things. It is interesting you mentioned Melchizedek because, first of all, that means righteous king, is what that
That's
means,
right.
the
Yep.
etymology of it. But another thing that's important about Melchizedek that Abraham, right? He literally had to go to Melchizedek for blessing, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
because Melchizedek was above him. And if
Oh
you're
yeah.
a Jewish person, Melchizedek is Jesus.
Yes.
He is the
Correct.
Jesus. He's the waiting Messiah.
They, and there are some Christians who will say, they won't necessarily preach it, but they will say that these are the same being, that Melchizedek was Christ in a pre-Christ incarnation, that God
Incarnation.
incarnated
Well,
more than once,
that's
and
cool.
Melchizedek is one of those.
Why not?
Uh,
Yeah, he's got
and
the
it could,
coolest name
there's no
ever.
reason. Oh, yeah. There's absolutely no reason that couldn't be true. There's nothing that stops Jesus Christ from being the sacrifice for all mankind, and that also being the case, especially considering we know God did that himself on directly when he wrestled Jacob, right? So he wrestled Jacob and dislocated his hip with a touch. Now, some people believe it was just an angel. Others believe that was God himself that wrestled him. Uh, Literally, physically wrestled him, which is hilarious. Uh, but it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. At the end of the day, for me, the deep theology stuff is just fan fiction, to be honest with you, because we don't really know. There's no way to really know what's true and what's not true, because there's so many different iterations. Like you said, the Bible is new, right? When we look at the historical record, that's a new thing. Even though it's got stuff that's talked about from a long time ago, it as a compiled thing is new in history. Even though it's 1800 years old, it's still a new thing compared to some of the old stuff that we have. So it's hard to say, yeah, this is the right one. We nailed it right here. These Romans, they came together, they got at this council, they figured it out. They nailed it. We don't need no notes. We don't need to look any further. All right? They got it. It's real hard to say that as a rational person, be like, well, that's kind of silly. Um, and I think a lot of people have done that. I think one of the reasons why Islam exists is because people did that. That's exactly why it exists, right? People are like, well, no, that's why would we listen to these guys? Who made Constantine the boss? Who said he gets to decide what's the Bible and what isn't? I don't remember God coming down and be like, he gets to make it. He's the guy who canonizes it.
He
It's
and
him.
his army is what I would say.
Pretty much. That's who pretty much forced the issue.
Yeah, that's right. He didn't really give them much choice. But
They said, no, we don't like that. Okay, kill him. Wait, what? Yep,
Yeah.
get him out of here. That was pretty much it.
Melchizedek is a very interesting character in the and not just the Bible, extra biblical
Yes,
things. Very interesting fella because he's a king, the righteous king. Do you know
that's right.
which city and which area he was king of?
If you had asked me this about 10 years ago, yes, but I don't off the top of my head.
Well, he was his city was called the whole foundation, or some translation would say the foundation of peace, but I don't like that. I prefer whole or complete foundation. Of course,
Yeah,
today we pronounce it as Jerusalem.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, Jerusalem. Yeah,
Kind of an important fella, a little bit.
he's a big deal. He's a bit of a big deal, and he's one of those guys who just doesn't get much mention in a lot of Christian
Well, because
discourse,
he's
which I find
really
interesting.
A Jew thing. He really is. He's
Yeah.
their Messiah, right?
He's
I mean,
important though. Like I said, Jesus derives a lot of his authority as a priest, as the priest. All of it,
yeah,
in fact, from
he's a
Melchizedek.
big
That's where he
deal.
gets it from. Yeah,
And like I said, he's got the coolest name ever.
yeah,
That
yeah.
is so badass name, dude. Come on.
Melchizedek.
Melchizedek. Yeah.
It can be a hero. It can be a villain. It's just cool. It's a great name.
Those three guys in the fire too had cool names too. Abednego.
Yeah,
what was it?
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
I only know that because their names are so good. They're
They are
such
so
good
good,
names.
dude.
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Abednego.
It just sounds good, bro.
It does, man. It does. But anyway,
And they did one of the most metal things of all time. Got thrown in a furnace and just didn't burn. They said, "Nope,
take
ain't burning
that.
today."
Take that. Uh, but um, but yeah, these are cool things. But my point that I'm kind of getting at is that these stories are ancient, truly ancient,
Yes.
right? Like I said, they have mapped this to 38,000 quite, and this is not theory, this is confirmed, right?
Yeah.
So then there's many ways we could do that. You could do it with lava flows and ice core stuff, and there's all kind of things that allow us to date
Wait, they didn't
properly.
use carbon 12? Why
No,
not?
carbon 14, you mean? Carbon 14?
Whatever. Whatever. It's all bullshit. That's all I know.
It is, yeah. But it is just really interesting how it's tying so beautifully to the Bible. Now, the historians involved in private conversations, they're as excited as you and me are, right?
Yeah.
But openly, they can't be. They can't connect themselves to religion at all.
Which is
And
silly to me.
well, whatever. It also comes down to politics. You want to get into
Yes.
places like Turkey, which is where we're talking about. Turkey used to be quite a cosmopolitan place religiously and socially, but now you
Right.
got Erdogan, and he's all about bringing back the caliphate, right? So if
Good luck.
you don't want to be talking Christian or Jewish stuff over there, you don't want to be
We'll have
doing that.
none of that Hebrew nonsense, he
Well, I'm just
said.
saying they'll
None of it.
kick you out. They will kick you
Yeah.
out, right? It's bad enough just trying to continue digs without them shutting it down because they don't like the information coming out. It's bad enough because a lot of
Isn't
that
that what
happens.
happened to
Göbekli Tepe, yeah.
yeah, that one.
And honestly, they've been a pain in the ass in Van Lake as well, all the various tepes over there too. But and there are other places in Turkey that right now Turkey is full court press for archaeology, right? But that damn
It's
government, those Muslims, they don't they know they're wrong, I think is what it is in their
funny
bones.
how that works, especially when you know where Turkey is in regards to much of scriptural locations.
Well,
Right? It's
all of it.
very
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, basically all of it. Yeah, it's interesting how much they keep finding there. Like they've said for years that's where the Ark is. Right, it's in a mountain in Turkey. Uh, it's
Ararat.
very interesting. Yeah, Ararat. It's very interesting how that plays out, and it happens often. Like I remember when they found Jericho. I remember when that was a big deal.
Yeah.
Uh, and they, for years they just thought it was just, it was just a story, it wasn't real. Like Troy, it's not real. That don't exist. Whoopsie, found it. There it is.
Yeah.
Guess that was real.
Well, speaking of Troy though, there has been an interesting little thing happening in the past, I don't know, few week or so, right? Because Christopher Nolan is going after
Retarded. Yep.
that stupid feminist stuff because he's a Wookiee, and everyone's getting pissed off about it. And therefore, because it's in the news, you're getting some older YouTube things popping up, but you also have a lot of people reiterating stuff that had been said before. And there's
Right.
an old theory I remember way back when I was like even before I went to university, right?
Yep.
I don't know, the book I read was probably written in the '60s, I think, right? I was a high
Yep.
school boy, and there's a theory been kicking around. I don't know, 100 years, 150 years, maybe more. Because if you read the Iliad and the Odyssey, which
Right.
when I was a kid we were required to read it. It was required reading in high school. Um,
Yep.
in there, all the weather descriptions, landscape descriptions, people's descriptions, fashion description, everything.
Yes.
It's not the Mediterranean, dude.
Uh-oh. Hang
Right?
on.
Well, it's not. Everything in it is just not describing properly. And although most of the names line up, not all of them do. They're slightly
Right.
different. They're like, oh, that's just time. Yeah, fair enough. Right? But there's a theory been going, like I said, I don't know, 150, 200 years. I think I'd heard something about Ben Franklin mentioning it, right?
Yep.
I don't know if that was early in his life or late in his life, but nevertheless, the theory
He's a
is
smart guy, old Ben.
he was
Smart guy.
very smart scientist, actually. But
Yep.
the theory is that the original Homeric epics, and even the name Homer, right, are actually taking place in the Baltic Sea, not the Mediterranean Sea. And
Interesting.
if you look at the Baltic Sea and you go look at current locations, which have names very similar, by the way, right?
Yep.
And you look at all the mentioning of weather and mist and fog, and of course, keep in mind when they're starting their attack on Troy, the ground is covered in snow. When's the
That's right.
last time it snowed in the area we mark Troy as today, right?
Hmm.
Now, I'm not taking a side on this. I'm just saying it is kind of interesting that that old theory is popping up again because of all the controversy from Christopher Nolan.
Right.
And if you are interested in these kind of theories and stuff, I'm sure you could find it very easily because they're popping up, right? But I've seen that theory. I've read a book on it, right? And I always thought it was interesting. I didn't really put much weight to it, but it is interesting read or an interesting listen because
Yep.
it's one of those theories that makes a lot of sense. It's one of
Could
those
be
things. It's one
one
of
of those
those
could
things.
be's.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
But they still
No,
never
it's
get frickin' Odysseus correct, dude. They never get him right.
no, no, they
And
never will. They don't want to. I think. I think that's the real truth of it. Because the great thing about the Iliad and the Odyssey is one of the things throughout history that all great civilizations have, all of them, without question, is they have certain aspects to them. They have a foundational myth, but with that foundational myth, whatever it is, even if it's mostly the truth, like ours, like America's, the Revolutionary War times, most of it was that all happened, right? There's obviously mythology around it, but
of course,
it all happened.
sure.
Which I'm sure is probably true with the Odyssey to some degree and the Iliad. I'm sure a lot of that's real.
Well, there's a lot of
However,
allegory in there. Yeah.
yes, they have that, but what they also have is they have an age of heroes. They have a foundation, right, which can be fanciful or very simple, and then they usually have an age of heroes. And what an age of heroes is, think like if you think of ancient Greece, you had Heracles, you had Perseus, you had Odysseus, you had Achilles, you had all these stories that
Hmm.
are supposed to have taken place at some point in before they were told, obviously, right? Uh, these were the eight. This was the age of heroes. Obviously, there's many others too, but these are your main ones, your big daddies in the Greek world.
Yeah.
And Achilles specifically, a lot of people don't realize this. He was a big deal. He was the ideal man for the Greeks. He was their guy. He was there was no one above Achilles when it came to this is what you should want to be. This was the guy. He was the man. Point blank. Period. End of story. So what the Iliad and the Odyssey do very, very succinctly, whether Homer was an individual person or he's a whatever, doesn't really matter, because what it does is it gives you an age of heroes story with Achilles, which is a tragedy, really, with the Troy and the Trojan War and all that, and then it shifts from that to what is usually comes after an age of heroes, which is an age of struggle, right? In great civilizations.
Yeah.
They have their age of heroes. They do a lot of expansion. They do great things. They conquer. They run, and then they struggle for various reasons. It's happened to every single one. It happened to Rome numerous times. Happened to happens to America. It happens to everybody. They have an age of heroes and then an age of struggle. Sometimes you have more than one, but America's personally, I would say, our age of heroes was the Old West. We have lionized so much of what happened there when really most of it's bullshit. But not just the Old West. The great battles that the American military fought against the natives, against the tribes. I mean, we're talking massive battles that you just don't hear about. These things were huge. The amount of people that were fighting each other, epic in scale, and you just don't really. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and we don't really talk about them because we're supposed to feel ashamed at the fact that we mollywop the shit out of them tribals.
Well, it took us hundreds of years to get there.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, Jesus, they kicked our ass for centuries, dude.
Yep. But my point is, I'd say that was our age of heroes, right? Then after that, we had a little time of trouble. The early 1900s were mostly okay, like the really early were mostly okay, but really up until 1946, America wasn't doing too hot. There was times when we were doing all right. You had your roaring 20s, but that wasn't as big of a deal as people think it was. It was just it's been lionized because it
Yeah.
was so salacious. Uh, but then obviously the Great Depression. You had two world wars that we were a part of. You had multiple wars that America was a part of. My point is, the Iliad and the Odyssey is a great example of telling both stories at the same time. What Homer did was he took these two ideas and he condensed them into effectively one story. Even though the first story, the Iliad, is about Achilles mostly, but he's the guy of it. Obviously, Odysseus is there, right? He's also there. But and then the second one is more about Odysseus and his journey home, obviously, because Achilles is dead.
Well, the
And then
second
Achilles
one
makes
has
a
lot
cameo.
more allegory in it.
But yes,
Odyssey,
exactly. Which is why it's about an age of suffering. Because
Well-
usually when you retell the story of the age of suffering, that's when it gets very allegorical. That's
Right.
when it gets very
Well-
fantastical.
it's also the perfect example of the hero's journey because he starts in Ithaca
Yes.
and ends in Ithaca. That's the
Yes.
hero's journey. You
Yes.
start with knowledge, or you think you have, you lose it all, and you end up right back where you started from with wisdom, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
of course,
And I think it's very interesting, personally. Go ahead.
Well, it is interesting, and it also is interesting in the Odyssey, which I wonder if they'll do that in Nolan's. You would think they would, because the last words of the Odyssey, the last bit of wisdom, is not from Odysseus; it's from Penelope,
Right.
right? And that is pretty interesting, I think. But yeah, no, you're
But
right.
the reason I went on this tangent is because the reason you don't get a good Odysseus, they don't really let him shine like he should, is because he and Achilles are two sides of the same coin of the ideal masculine icon in Greco-Roman, Greco and Roman, and even modern Western ideal. Now, obviously, we also have Jesus Christ as one for us now. The ancient Greeks didn't, but you had Achilles, the great warrior, the man of glory. His whole situation was about glory. His mother warned him. She's told him straight out, you can stay here, you'll marry a woman, you'll have a lot of kids, eventually everybody will forget you. Or you can go and you won't come home, but you will live forever. And he chooses to go and live forever.
He chooses.
And that right there, that choice is a great thing. It is an ideal. It's an aspiration for man, right?
Yeah.
Many men would choose that. They would choose to go live forever if they could. She warns him again later, actually, when he decides to challenge Hector.
And of course,
this will be it. This was his last chance.
Right. Because she's a Nereid. She's a ocean spirit, right? And actually, I think Zeus and Poseidon really wanted her, but when they heard the prophecy of her son becoming so powerful, they backed up off of her. And
well, that's the other thing that you don't get with Achilles. Even though I love Brad Pitt's Achilles in Troy, I think he nailed the characterization, and he looks perfect. I mean, just perfect.
Well, actually, Alan Ritchson would be perfect.
Well, yes, he's not big enough, but what I mean by perfect is, he's the way he carries himself. He's very athletic.
I love him.
He moves the right way. Alan, I don't think, has the athleticism. He's just big.
But Odysseus was big, dude.
Well, no, Odysseus, yes, but he was short. He was a thick boy. He was wide. He was a wide boy. But my point is, with Achilles, she warns him. She tells him. She gives him two warnings. First, if you go, you won't come home. And then the second time, I'm pretty sure it's right before he decides to go, kill Hector effectively.
Right.
She says basically, yes, this would lead to your death. And there's a part in there because Achilles is the ideal of aspiration. He is the ideal of that, of glory, of all of it, right? Not just being a great warrior, not just being a great tactician, a great warlord, a great man, a man that was so great at war. He was perfect at war, and even the gods feared him, right? Not just that, which is good, but glory itself. That's what he represents.
Yeah, no, that's exactly. And then, of course, at the end of, during when Odysseus goes to the underworld, he speaks with Achilles, and Achilles regrets his choice. Right?
He does, but he does it first. Yeah. But then Odysseus tells him, okay, yeah, but your son is doing this, and this, and doing these great things, and he is proud that he was able to inspire his son to be a great man too. So
Yeah.
that scene's often misinterpreted that Achilles was just in full regret. I don't think he was. I think he just really wished he was still alive, to be honest with you, because he even said if he was alive again, he'd go back to killing people. So he didn't regret it too much.
Yes, Roger, it is. But another thing I always thought interesting about this story, his mother does tell him exactly what you just said. That's all in the
Yep.
story. But
Yep.
at the same time, she doesn't want him to go to Troy. She's
Correct.
very against it. She wants him to not seek glory
She
because
wants him
keep
to
in
live.
mind, she does. But it's weird. Why did you tell him that? Right?
Right.
Because keep in mind, where does Odysseus find him? She has hid him in a king's harem. He's dressed as a woman,
Yep.
hidden in a harem. When
Yep.
Odysseus barges in and says, "Fuck off, king," and drags him out.
Right.
Right?
Fucking Greeks, man.
I
There's
know.
something else.
Yeah.
The other part that always gets left out is, in the movie Troy, it's an equal duel, him and Hector, right? They come out, they have a nice honorable fight. That's not what happens in the story.
No.
Achilles chases that motherfucker around Troy like 3 times trying to kill him. It's not an honorable fight at all.
No, it was with no contest. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was no contest.
But no,
Yeah.
the reason why, okay, so what I'm getting at is Achilles is that. He's supposed to be that pinnacle of glory. Probably was a real man. There is a tomb to him, whether or not anybody was in there. But it does exist. Odysseus, though, he is a different example of a different type of man. Right? He's a king, a very respected king, very brilliant king.
Well,
Uh,
amazing tactician. Yeah.
Amazing, brilliant tactician, big, thick thighs like that of a boar. Like the man was huge. He was a big, beefy. He was Wolverine out here, is what he was. Beefy boy, and he had a family. He had a wife who loved him, a queen who actually loved him. That's very rare in ancient times, by the way, people. That didn't happen a lot.
Oh no,
She loved him.
was
She respected him.
extremely loyal. Yeah.
Extremely loyal. So what Odysseus is he's an example of, you have the glorified, and then the down, the pulled. What's the word? The not he doesn't really lose his dignity necessarily. He does a couple times, I guess, but not really. It's just of long suffering, right? Of just perseverance. That's what I'm looking for. He is perseverance. He will not give up. But so is his wife. His wife could have gave up on him at any time in those 20 years or 10 years or whatever it was. Any time she could have gave up on him and taken a suitor, and she did not.
No, and
Yeah.
of course, the kind of end scene kind of shows her perseverance even more, because after he kills everybody,
That's right. Get him
right?
out. Get out of here.
He's what does it say in the thing, that he is a king as unto that of the underworld, right? Because he's
Yes.
covered in blood, right? He's sitting there. His son is so shocked and aghast, he turns his back and leaves. But
Right.
what does Penelope do? She comes up, she takes him directly to a bath and begins sponging him off, cleaning off the
Yep.
blood and carnage that he has done, and that's where she gives her last words of the book about, and of course, it's the last bits of wisdom. But yeah, it's a great story. If you haven't read these stories, I mean,
Yep.
arguing whether it's real or not doesn't really matter.
Right. I say the same
Great
thing about the
story.
Bible. Doesn't matter if it's real.
No.
The story is the point. That's why you won't ever get it, because these two guys are Western icons. They have been since always. I mean, their names are older than the names of Jesus Christ. They've been around forever in the West. They're not going anywhere. This movie isn't going to change that. Good luck, Nolan. You retard. You're not going to change anything. You're not going to hurt the brand of Achilles and Odysseus. You're just not.
No.
These guys aren't going anywhere. It's a shame, though, that we can't get people to take these stories seriously enough to tell them with all the fantastical, allegorical, whatever you want to call it, elements. Don't cut it out like Troy did. Troy tried to limit it as much as they could.
They did.
and I hated that. I think it would have been. I think that movie, even though most people nowadays realize it was actually a really good movie, uh, I think it would have been seen even better if they would have just
Well,
let it be, tell the story. Don't
yeah, and
don't
that's
lean away from it.
basically the Iliad, right? Is what
Yeah.
that is. And of course, they leave out all the God stuff completely, right?
Mm-hmm.
In that movie, even though I love it. But Grimlock, you've been here a while, very quiet. Um, I do want to kind of shift gears slightly and touch on something that Thundera had mentioned,
Mm.
and ask you a question, if I might, being that we're all American here. Do you know how we
Americans.
finally, as he said, put a wampus on the native on those savages? Do you know how we finally did that?
We gave them white women.
No,
And they nagged those
that might have been an
savages
easier
up and
solution.
down.
That
You
might
know
have been
how
quicker.
well you know how it happened because when I said they were kicking our ass for centuries, I'm not joking. Everyone has this idea that because we had guns and cannon, we were so superior. No, we weren't.
No, no.
Those guys, especially when the Spanish first came in, they had those aquabus were slow as shit. A frickin'
Yep.
Indian on horseback could shoot 30 arrows a minute, dude. Right?
Yep.
And they knew the land. They had amazing tactics. They owned us for hundreds of years. So I don't want to hear any
Mm-hmm.
of that bullshit about the Europeans had advantage. No, the Europeans were at a disadvantage because we didn't start kicking their ass until the frickin' Texas Rangers, right?
Yep.
And then that general who basically took the Texas Rangers tactics that was put in by Sherman. I can't remember his name. What was that general's name? Damn it.
I can't remember either.
But anyway, this is late, right?
Yep.
And what did the Texas Rangers? Because they led the way. Why did they have the solution for the Indians, and then that general, and then we just started kicking their ass? Because we started fighting fire with fire. We started fighting like
That's right.
they did. Because the problem with
Yeah.
us is our system of war had a very, very interesting thing tied into it. It's called honor and glory,
That's right. That's
right?
right.
And those
Yep.
things make you ineffective at murder because that's what the savages were, murderers, right?
Right.
And now this is another thing that comes out of this Grimlock. Um, a lot of people don't understand this, but 96% of every Indian in the America were savage, violent, and warlike. 96% of them.
That's
So
right.
this noble, peaceful savage fuck right off, right? But it wasn't until those rangers started going at them, burning down their villages, murdering their women, killing them, gutting them, and putting them on spikes, and just going at them the exact
Yep.
same way they did things, that we actually started seeing some pushback because they respected that. They
That's
had
right.
no respect for the way that the Europeans fought. They thought we were weak and cowardly because
Yep.
we didn't pull out and eat the entrails of our enemies, right?
Right.
But
Well, we had to relearn. We had to relearn total war.
right,
We had gotten soft when it came to war.
and
Uh, and that's what happened. It's happened more than once to us. Sadly, I think that's what happened with the Crusades and stuff. Europeans had to
I
learn
think
that
so.
some enemies have no honor, and you just can't treat them with honor.
Right.
They don't
And
deserve honor.
this is why, what was that, like 60 years later, during
Yep.
World War II, because Hollywood never shows it correctly. The Germans were terrified of the Americans. The Japanese were terrified. The English and the French, everybody was terrified of the Americans when they came in. But why?
Yep.
Now, Hollywood will always show you that all the Americans were just such good soldiers and so brave. No, they weren't. They were just the same as everybody else. Of
Mm.
course, they're just people. The reason why
Yep.
the Americans were terrifying is
Human
because
beings.
the Germans, the word they used for us was complete chaos. Because
That's
a
right.
German a soldier would have to wait for an order to go all the way up the chain and come all the way back down before they could do anything. The American, all the way down to the private, was taught you think for yourself, you get it done. Right? And
This is
that's
your
why,
mission. Go do it.
yeah, it doesn't matter what your rank is. You don't need to talk to no damn boss back at HQ. Go get it done. And this
Right.
terrified them because it was not what they were used to. It wasn't the uniform code of military tactic. The Americans were
Yes.
chaos to them. They weren't more brave. They weren't better soldiers. They just were able to respond because they weren't restricted. And who did we learn that from? Right? We learned that from
Indians.
the Indians.
Yep.
That's why.
And in battle, a lot of times you'll still have that. One of the biggest problems our military has nowadays is they've developed those codes way too much to where you can literally listen to these guys on these helicopters. They have to ask 4 different people if they can shoot. When everybody can see that's who they should be shooting, but they have to. It's like, what are we doing, guys? Just kill the enemy. Why are we pussyfooting here?
That's when you get statesmen putting their fingers in, dude. And back during World War II, they didn't have that control. The military industrial complex had not really become a thing yet. And it was the inception of it. But yeah, you're 100% right. Although what's going on right now in Iran, this is a delaying action by Trump. That thing was over in the first 4 days. That is done. That is just him sticking it to the Chinese, getting them to do what he wants, and sticking it to the Europeans. That's what he's doing over there. And all these idiots saying, "Oh, the Americans are dude, really? Please."
Although, get out of here.
To shift gears a little bit more, Grimlock, I will say, what do you think Trump's up to right now, though? Because what I just said is true. He is doing that, but I think there's a bigger thing going. Have you seen any pattern with Trump and his plan in regards to geopolitics? Let's say, not America specifically.
If there's anything we have seen from Trump, in particular, I would say that he's known for being a shrewd negotiator, of course, because the art of the deal and what. And I think he is seeking as much as he can, like he's trying to get the best possible deal without going too far over. I think he's trying to stick it. I think they definitely trying to stick it to China because, as he proved during COVID, it does America no service to not be a producer and being strictly a consumer.
True.
So
I think I was thinking a little more broad in my question, though. Well, let me just tell you what I'm seeing, and you give me your opinion. How about that? And what I've seen, and I don't know, do I hope I'm wrong or do I not hope I'm wrong? I don't know. Let me just put what I've seen. I think what he's doing is he's talking to the Russians and he's saying, you control your area and you stay out of our business. China, you control your area and you stay out of our business, and we'll do the same. I think what I see him doing is pulling back, America first. And look what he's doing in the North and South America. He's consolidating all American power throughout there. But he's not really, other than the Iran thing is a different thing. And you can see he's not interested in taking it or putting ground troops. He's not interested in that. He's using it to his advantage to get what he wants. But we've seen him pull back on all these other things. And I feel like he's made a multipolar choice in that America is going to take care of North South America. That's our area. The Russians can do whatever they want in their area. The Chinese can do whatever the hell they want in their area. And we're going to stick out of each other's hair. I feel that he's doing that. And I don't know how I feel about it personally.
I mean, it's not necessarily a bad idea because what has been the one thing that Americans, regardless of their political stance, have bitched about the entirety of my life? Oh, we spend so much time being world police and being in other people's affairs, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Okay. If that's his plan, if the plan is, hey, we stay on our side of the hemisphere and deal with our shit, and you stay over there and you deal with whatever the fuck it is you deal with, I think a lot of Americans would actually be 100% fine with it. Even the retarded leftists who want to pretend that everything he does is to work Satan, I think would be fucking fine with that.
Yeah.
Especially especially if it comes down to something tangible. If it's like, oh, you know, we're cutting back on this, and we just saved 67 billion in international spending.
Right.
Most Americans would not have a problem with that.
Wow, we can get that back from Minnesota alone.
I mean, we could. I mean, we could get. Look, we could get about 100 billion if we just whack the motherfuckers in California upside the head.
That's true.
But
Yeah.
Yeah.
if not more.
What do you think about this pattern I've been seeing, Thunder?
It's exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
I said it before. I say it again. The age of global hegemony is over. The liberal world order is dead and dying, and it will continue to do so. We are returning to the age of empires. There are 3 great empires on the planet right now. Europe could potentially be one, but they're so far behind the 8 ball, it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
And they
did
have
it
to somehow-
themselves.
They've done it to themselves. They have to somehow actually unify. I don't see that genuinely happening, at least not besides surface level bullshit. So you have 3. 1, 2, 3. The U.S. and really just the Americas, all of it, North and South, are going to be the big daddy pretty much going forward unless something crazy happens. We have the economy. We have enough people. We have all the resources. America's got all the resources, boys and girls. We're the land of milk and honey. I don't care what anybody says. We got it all. We don't need. We literally now, if all of these estimates come out to be true, we got the lithium, we got the oil, we got it all. There is not one rare earth mineral we do not have in excess.
Nope.
So there's literally no reason for us to keep these foreign adventures across the oceans going. We don't need to. It benefits us nothing, really. The only reason we've been doing it is to secure global trade and to enforce the petrodollar. But the truth of the matter is, the petrodollar, while we're going to keep propping it up as long as we can, we need to shift away from it. We just simply do. It's not a future-proof currency, right? We're going to a different world here, folks. We're going to a world where oil won't be the bloodline of the entire
Right.
global economy.
Well, I guess the Japanese are gonna have to pull their thumb out then. All right, fine.
No, I think they're going to. I don't think. See, here's what I think. If I had to guess, if say Trump could stay president for 20 more years somehow, and he had his way at everything, he would strengthen this hemisphere, the American hemisphere, all of it, north and south, and we would shift a lot of our manufacturing and things back over here into America mainland, but also into South and Central America, which we've already been doing, and we need to keep doing because it just makes more sense. He would prop up more and more guys like a Bukele or a Milei, guys like this all throughout the South, the southern part, to get their places in line, because down there, nobody wants to hear this, but it's true, you're not going to be able to do, well, in Argentina you can, but in most of that area down there, you're not going to be able to have a free society like we think of. You're going to have a more of an autocratic freedom, which is what El Salvador has, where they're free as long as they, don't fuck around, because they're going to find out real quick. But otherwise, they're free. He's not cracking down on speech and anything, like, there's none of that. He doesn't care. Really. He just doesn't. It's not his purview. He cares about murderers and drug dealers and rapists and shit. So, which is what the government should do. Yeah, which is their job. My point is, I think you're going to see a lot more of that. I think there are going to be some problems over here, of course. Canada's a problem because they think for some reason they're independent, which is hilarious. Mexico, too, for some reason has this idea that they're independent of the U.S. Okay, let's cut you both off and see how long you last.
Well,
just cut you off.
I tell you why they think that. Democrats.
Yes, we've allowed them to. And I think that's over, too. I think you're completely correct. I think Russia's going to expand. They're going to keep expanding to what they can.
Do business with them because there's money there.
Yes. We're going to do business, and while they expand, we're going to let China do what it's been doing, which is colonizing Africa and buying its way into places over there. We're going to help Japan strengthen themselves, as Trump has been doing with our oil deals and stuff, which gives us incentive to protect the Pacific waterways, to protect our oil deals with Japan and other deals, of course. And that we'll still do that, of course, because there's no reason for us not to. but I just don't think you're going to see America be the world police like we've seen going forward. Because one, Grimlock's correct. People don't want it. And two, we can't afford it. And three, we don't need it. The American empire, as it is, simply doesn't need it. I mean, think about this for a second. Trump's been president for just over a year. Not even a year and a half, he's been president again. Just think about that. In that time, he has conquered, ladies and gentlemen, conquered the world's #1 oil reserve. Conquered it in 88 minutes.
Yeah,
Took it.
that was awesome.
That's ours now. We have it. We're not giving it back. They're under direct control of the Trump administration. They're fine with it, they seem to be anyway. I haven't heard any real grumbling about it. Because, I mean, look at the prosperity that's already flowing into Venezuela just because it's much, much, much better to be our ally than it is to be our adversary. Much better.
Yeah.
Japan is the perfect proof of that. Look at
That's
them.
true.
Thriving.
Roger even says Venezuela is going to be the first 51st state. First of all, I don't think we're going to have a 51st state. But if I
Yeah,
were
I don't
to
think we need
bet,
it.
I would say Cuba would be in line before Venezuela.
Could be. I wouldn't make them a state. I just make them a full territory,
Yeah,
like
no, all
Puerto
of
Rico,
them.
or one of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
just let them. But I wouldn't give them. I wouldn't give them voting rights necessarily. Maybe on some things, but by and large, no. They don't need to be deciding most of the stuff. They don't need senators. They don't need any of that shit. They don't need it. It allow them to have their autonomy under certain guidelines. Vassal states effectively, and just let them do what they got to do. None of them are ever going to be world powers, no matter what they say. None of them are ever going to be able to. They're just not. They don't have the size. They don't have the will, really.
Yeah.
The only one who could even get close is Brazil, but they're not going to do it either. Their society's a problem, so it's not going to happen.
They're led by a full-blown socialist, by the way.
No, we're going to have to deal with Brazil. That's just the truth of the matter.
But
it's absolutely going to happen.
last night, well, I guess it's more than 24 hours now, but very recently, if you guys didn't know this, in Cuba, there was a bit of an uprising, and the Communist Party headquarters was burned down.
Yep.
So
No, Cuba's done.
That's a lie. I was told by reliable leftists that Cuba is so full of joy that even when they have no power, they take time out to go party in the streets.
That's right.
There's no uprise.
well, no, I saw the video, dude. The headquarters did burn down. I saw a video.
Yep.
Israeli lies. That's all I'm hearing.
Jewish lies.
Why?
No, I don't see any reason why. I don't see any reason why. The only reason we've allowed Cuba to be what it is because they have nothing really to give us. We get nothing from them directly. But I think I said it before. I said it when Trump was elected. I said what will determine if America can pull out of the nosedive is if we accept that we're an empire and start acting like it. That's it.
Now,
That's what saved Rome. It's the only thing that can save us going forward.
true. But with Grimlock's joke there, I do have a question. Why am I seeing in America? I understand the Europeans because they're Europeans. But why is there so much Israel hate going on in America right now?
Because you have idiots like Hassan Piker. He says anything that is remotely pro Israel or that's not a lefty talking point is some Zionist scion.
Yeah, but he's a bloodthirsty communist. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking out of MAGA.
Yeah, because they listen to the same people.
Okay.
Yep. You got a lot of people who. Here's what a lot of it is. One, a lot of these so-called influencers are getting foreign money. They're getting third world money, Muslim money. So of course they're going to point the figure where they're told. Tucker's one of them. He sold out. Period. That's just what he did.
Really sad, dude. That is so sad.
Yeah, but his network's dead. It only has like 7,500 something like that subscribers. That's not enough, right? You can't sustain that.
You mentioned that. I don't know if we talked about that, but I had saw something I had to look it up afterwards. Razor System brought us something that was very interesting about Mr. Tucker Carlson and how all of a sudden, um, his son was a part of JD Vance's staff.
Yep.
And you could almost line up the moment that his son is no longer on JD Vance's staff, that he just turns and goes complete
Yes.
batshit.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
wow.
Sadly, but Tucker's one of them. There's other ones out there, of course, who have now, either Tucker. I don't think has fully disavowed Trump or anything, but I do think he said some really stupid shit. Some of the other guys have, even Alex did. And really, all it is they kind of won, right? They everything they said they wanted, by and large, has happened.
Right.
And what happens is when you're a dissident, that's your whole brand for so long. You can't be on the winning side.
Right.
That doesn't work.
Same thing we see with the wokies, the feminists.
Yeah, and the communist revolutionaries, the revolution never ends, right? It's the same idea. They also, a lot of them genuinely do have, I call it Israel derangement syndrome, just like Trump derangement syndrome, where anything good that we do that might maybe potentially help Israel is bad automatically, and anything that ever hurts Israel is good automatically. And that is just an insane worldview. Israel has been around for almost 100 years now as a reformed country. They defend their own border. They really don't get that much from us when you look at the actual raw numbers. This idea that we fund them and blah, blah, that's not true. They've been attacked numerous times and they win every time. They're a quote unquote right to exist, which I don't believe any country has a right to exist, but theirs they've enforced by themselves. Period. End of story. If anybody has a right to it, then the people who have a right to exist as a country are the people who can defend their borders. That's it. That's the end of the conversation. And they've done so. They've been around longer than any of us have been alive. So this idea that, that they're somehow an illegitimate country or whatever nonsense they say is ridiculous. They're on stolen land. Shut up, retard.
Okay, well, go over there and take it.
Yeah, exactly. Then go take it from them.
Okay.
Good luck.
Yeah, the Israelis. But we get the same thing, talk about stolen land in America, which is the most ridiculous thing. You know that.
Yeah, which is the same response. Okay, go take it. If you
come get it.
If you're that righteous, if you're that deep in your belief, go the fuck over there and take it. You should.
You realize how bullshit that statement is, right?
Of course,
all land is stolen land. There's no such thing.
No, we bought.
But all of it is, none of it is.
But even with the Indians, because we all know about the Louisiana Purchase, the thing with Alaska. Yep. But what did we buy? What what was the modern contemporaneous value? What it was like 2-3 cents an acre. We gave to Napoleon the same amount of money to the Russians.
Well, it was like 15 million, right, back then, in that money,
right.
If I remember right. Yeah.
But if you look at what we gave the Indians, which is in between those two things, and of course we bought from the Spanish and the Mexicans and et cetera, et cetera. But with the Indians, this is the thing. It's so dumb with them getting up talk about stolen land. The Indians got the best damn deal of anybody. They got, what was it, like 70-80 cents an acre?
Yep.
They went out like bandits, dude. 20 times what we paid actual empires. They got paid huge amount of money. What are you talking about stolen land? That was bought fair and square, and those Indians took it and happily took it. And keep on top of the Indians,
Firewater.
Not only did we buy their land from them, we gave them free new land.
Yep. Oh, I know. I don't listen. As an Indian, I don't listen to the grievances of these whiners. It's bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's just the grievances of losers, to be honest. Just like communism and socialism is just envy politicized. That's all it is. They're just envious. Yeah. It's the same thing. But the reason why you'll see all this anti-Israel and all this anti-Jew stuff is because, as much as I hate to say this, because there are valid things you can point out, and I've done it, it's just easier. When you actually look at how little influence AIPAC specifically, that's the big one people talk about, has monetarily. They don't give that much. They're not that big of a lobby. They're just not. There's other lobbies that are much bigger than AIPAC, but yet they never talk about them. for some reason.
Yeah,
China
just
China is
Soros
by
alone.
far a bigger
We
threat.
just had another fucking foreign national exposed this
Yeah,
fucking week in a
that's right.
fucking position of political power. You
That's right.
would think that'd be the biggest fucking talking fucking
Yeah.
of the week. Look, we still talking about the Jews because you can't get
Yeah,
over the
jokes.
bagels.
I do like me a bagel. But no,
Bagel is a good time.
The Chinese spend about $1 trillion a year on propaganda.
Yes.
Yeah, you heard that
And
number.
who knows what else? Who knows what else they're up to besides just
Oh, there are a
propaganda?
lot of nasty stuff. But
Did you hear Trump? Apparently, so he was talking to old Winnie the Pooh there, and Winnie the Pooh apologized to him for some of the stuff that they get up to, some of the spying and stuff. Just formal diplomat bullshit, right? And Trump said, yeah, me too. And he tells the media, he goes, yeah, we do it back to them. It's not like it's a one-way street. Yeah, of course we do. Like, it's just what it is, right? It is what it is.
yeah,
I just thought it was funny how open he is about it. Like, yeah, we did it. We do it to them too.
It is interesting, him and Xi Jinping, because he always says about everybody, oh, he's a nice guy. Oh, it's a nice lady. Oh, he
That's
always says
That's
like
a good
that.
guy.
It's his way, right?
Right.
But he actually does seem to get along with Xi.
Yeah, I think he understands him. Right. I think it's really just like Kim Jong Un. He understands him. He might not agree with him, obviously, but he understands him. And I think that is something that those guys don't get a lot of. Right. The people around them are terrified to death, literally, of them. And Trump doesn't. He don't give a fuck. He's clearly not scared of them. Why would he be? So the fact that he can walk up to them and understand them genuinely and get their perspective on a way nobody else would. Most people around them wouldn't dare to. Probably nobody, to be honest. I think that earns a level of respect that they're just not. There's a deference, right? Because even Winnie the Pooh doesn't. I've never heard him talk shit about Trump. Maybe he does. I've just never seen it. But I've never seen it.
No, he doesn't say directly. If anything is said, it's sort of CCP and it's America in general, not Trump.
Right. Which we do too, right? We do too about China in general.
Yeah. Roger, that whole thing over there was just theater. There was nothing actually discussed of importance at that meeting. They've been talking for a very long time, right?
Oh yeah, they probably do just about every day.
That was theater.
Have some conversation.
I'm sure they do. Although I have to say, the Chinese, of course, there was some pride involved, right?
Yep.
Because they didn't want to be showed up, but the damn carnival they put on for Trump getting off that plane was impressive.
Yep. And you see Trump roll up in there. What a fucking gangster that guy is. He comes out of it with all the richest men in the world behind him.
Yeah. But you know,
it's so awesome. Gangster.
It is. But the coolest thing that came out of that is this. Now we know the CCP has a death grip on the internet over there. However, during that time and since, the Chinese people have literally fallen in love with Donald Trump, and the CCP has let them, which is very interesting, right? Which is part of this thinking I'm having with this multipolar plan that they seem to have been hashing out. But you would not believe, because, I'm reading it in the Chinese, right? I'm not caring what other foreigner thinks. I'm seeing what they're saying live. And they love them some damn Trump, dude, the Chinese. They love that guy. It took me aback, right? Because
I can tell you why.
Well, you know what the most important thing that they took out of, well, there's many little things, but the big one, he took a sip of champagne.
Yes. Yeah. Which was a show of respect because everybody knows he doesn't drink.
At all. Yeah, he's a teetotaler, right?
Right, yeah, he doesn't do anything. But I can tell you one of the main reasons, in my opinion, is because he's not apologetic. And they respect that. They respect the hell out of the fact that he says what he says, and he does what he does, and he doesn't apologize for it. I think a lot of people, see, because the West has become so lily-livered, so yellow, if you will, that everybody's always constantly apologizing for the shit they say. Oh, I'm sorry, but you know this, blah, 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 all the time. It's so common now that when I hear people say that shit, I just shut off. I'm like, all right, I'm done. I don't want to listen to you because I'm so sick of everybody just apologizing for a basic opinion. They're just their opinion. You don't need to apologize for your opinion. But the apologetics that people go through over here are outrageous, right? And all throughout the West, it's like this because we've been so feminized as a society. Let's just call it what it is. I think a lot of the East specifically really respects the fact that he's not like that. Trump isn't like that. He doesn't apologize. He doesn't make deference unless deference is due. He's just I think there's a lot of respect for that. Yeah, he's a straight shooter.
Yeah.
And I think they really respect it. It's why the people who love him over here because we have a lot more in common with those peoples than anybody wants to admit.
Well,
I think everybody hates politicians, and the fact that Trump will just
on the planet hates politicians.
Yeah. Trump will just tell you, right? He'll just like the thing with I told him, we do that back to him too. It's fine. Like nobody says that. No world leader's just that open about it, but he just says it. Says it right out.
He does. And Grimlock, I do have a question for you. It's been a while since I heard it, but I do recall in the past that the left, of course, kept saying taco about Trump, meaning Trump always chickens out, and they kept taco, and I'm like, when has he ever done that? I have never seen him ever chicken out of anything. Matter of fact, he's a little bit belligerent. Well, a lot belligerent. I don't understand the taco thing. Explain this to me.
It's the retarded tactic that they have successfully ran with. That if you lie long enough, I'm pretty sure you've ever heard the saying, when the legend becomes fact, you print the legend.
I guess.
That's their tactic. If you keep repeating the same lie, people will eventually accept it. If nobody opposes it, they'll accept it as fact.
Yeah, but there's not even a hint of truth to that. It's quite obvious to anyone and everyone that that's not
Chester,
at all.
We will remind you for what appears to be the 50th time. The average American is god awfully stupid. Many of these people will read a headline and base their entire opinion on the headline and not the article itself.
Well, I've been complaining for years that no one does any research. I have been complaining about that. That is true. It does irritate me, especially when it's so hard to find, topics that it's so easy to find information upon, right? I mean, some things take more work and more deep research, sure, but a lot of stuff's pretty easy. I mean, you only have to go to a few different sites and just kind of read between the lines, right? But with this, the taco thing, it's just weird. It's literally because if I were going to make propaganda, against Trump, I would be the opposite. It was he's too damn belligerent. He's not flexible.
All right, Chester. I will give you a great example using Trump. About 6 years ago, in 2019, 2020, an article from the New York Times came out where the headline said Trump only paid $700 in taxes. And every idiot that I know, especially who are left-leaning, ran with that shit. Everywhere on the internet, or even in real life, must be nice to only have to pay $700 in taxes. And if you actually read the fucking article, and I know the New York Times did this on purpose because that fucking article was painfully long to read. It actually took more than a half hour to read. But when you actually read the article, it clearly states in black and white that Donald Trump, over a 2-year period, in 2016 and 2017, paid over $6 million in taxes and only owed $700. But that's not the way the fucking headline was written. And these fucking idiots ran with it.
Yeah, I just did a Google search and it has exactly $750 in there.
Yes.
It's sad. I just looking at just straight
Yes.
Google. I'm not doing any research here.
Yeah, but see how quickly it took you. Like it took you what 45 seconds.
Yeah, yeah, to find bullshit because I know he pays more than that. Um, and of course, that
Yeah,
was one of
but
his great debate moments where, of
yeah,
course,
but
Hillary
nobody.
wasn't saying it was that low. She was saying he pays little, less than he
But
should. But his great thing was, yep, I do. And if you don't like it, change it. But I know you won't because all your buddies who pay you aren't going to let you.
you know that's when he actually broke those fuckers. Was that damn debate when he said that shit?
I think so. It was a
That's
great moment.
that's no. I know it was because I didn't watch the debates between him and Hillary the first time around because at the time I legitimately did not give a shit. But when I saw how like people was reacting to him, like this legitimate reaction, and I always went back to the old George Carlin saying where he said if honesty was ever inserted into American politics, this would collapse. It would fuck this country up.
Yeah.
And when he said that shit about the taxes, because every politician in the world would have given the answer that Hillary gave, and that he didn't, where he just said, "Yeah, I fucking do it, and I'd be stupid not to do it."
Yeah.
And it broke people because even though people would cynically say, "Oh, they ain't gonna change it," they just the fact that he came out and said, "Yeah, I'm gonna change it. Why would I change it?"
Well, he said, "Why would you?" Right? Because you're not
Yeah,
gonna. But yeah, no,
but
it
he,
was it was a good moment. Trump is surprisingly a better orator than I would have imagined. He
you,
actually has had some really good speeches. Now, to be fair, he's nowhere near as good a speaker as J.D. Vance or as Obama if he's reading some. Because Obama, if he's got a written speech, boy, watch out, right?
he doesn't have to. But the thing is, and and, and you know what? I'm gonna tie this into wrestling. What Trump did from a psychological standpoint was so good. I've only seen this work one other time.
Bam Bam Bigelow.
No, when Hogan was the third man for the NWO.
He became a bad guy.
Because think about the psychology of that moment. Even though people were saying Hulkamania was stale, Hulkamania was this, and it wasn't as cool anymore. When the NWO angle was happening, and nobody had seen him for months, and at that moment, even though people was sick and tired of Hulkamania and was stale, when he came out, everybody thought he was coming to save the day.
Yeah.
Yep.
And when
Hollywood
Trump was
Hogan.
running for president, even though he was not a politician, everybody was expecting the political answer. And when they didn't get it, it broke them.
It did. Yeah, it was great. And he does that a lot.
Great
But
psychology.
yeah, there's a lot of things going on though. That's for sure. The amount that he's literally disjointed the entire apparatus is
That's
what
right.
he's done. I see, and we've talked about here what he's doing. I see exactly what his plan is, and I wish him luck because boy is he ambitious. Holy shit, dude! It's one of the most ambitious leaders. I mean, let me go on. I'm going to put him in the category of Josephus, right?
Hmm.
Because I mean, Jesus, is he ambitious, dude? And I
He
haven't
also
name someone else who's been more ambitious as a leader. Name one. Maybe
that's
You know
Adolf
what?
Hitler, but
not
I'm not
all.
allowed to say that.
You're not allowed to praise him. Yeah, he was a bad guy.
Yeah, bad guy.
I want Barron to name his first son Josephus.
Fair.
Josephus
No, it's
Trump.
hard. It's hard to find him. The reason is because Mr. Trump he's been very open about this. He doesn't believe in giving up ever. He doesn't quit. He never ever forgets when somebody wrongs him. He doesn't let it go. People say, "Oh, he's real.
Trouble.
He's real petty." No, I don't think it's petty, guys. I think it's because he doesn't quit. I'm not saying he's not petty. I think he is, but I don't think that's why he's like that. I think the reason he's like that is because he doesn't ever give up on what he wants to do. And when somebody gets in his way, as far as he's concerned, they're always in his way until he wins.
That's true.
That's it.
But it's also a matter of justice, though, right?
Yep.
Because what the Europeans have done is they have we knew this anyway, if you're paying attention, but they've proven without a shadow of doubt they are not our friends. They are not.
Correct.
And they never have been, right? Now, maybe there's some relationships that can be built with Eastern Europe and in the Baltics, and of course with Russia, there might be relationships that could be built there. But the Europeans, what we consider Europe, right? They are not our friends, and they never have been. And honestly, the ones I have the most respect for are the Spanish, because they said "fuck off." They didn't even bother to try to shine us. They were like,
no placation.
Fuck right off.
Yeah, fine. Okay.
Fair enough. I mean, but fair enough, right? At least that's the most honest thing I've ever seen.
At least they're honest about it, right? Yeah. No, it's it's one of those things. Okay, good luck. God bless. Godspeed to you, Europe. That's where I'm at. I listen. I would much rather it not be that way, but Europe is gone. It's lost. It's lost to leftism.
They are our grandfathers.
Yeah, it's lost to leftism in a way that I don't know if it can be saved. They've built an apparatus over there that has one directive, and that is to destroy the European ethnicity. That's what their job is to do. And it's very obvious. That's all they care about. Everything they do is to hurt the European. Why? Who knows? Some people would say it's Jews. Maybe it is. I don't know. I don't really care why they want to do it. I just know they need to be stopped. And the fact that the European people don't seem to want to stop them, well, you can't save somebody who doesn't want to be saved. Simple as that.
But I mean, already Sweden's gone. It's gone. There's
no
conversation left. But
no coming back.
Here's a bigger one. France is gone.
Without a reconquista, a big reconquista, you'd have to have.
Yeah, but even though, it's gonna be difficult. But France, it's gone, dude. It's gone. Now Britain is in a position where they might be able to fix it. And of course, Keir Starmer lost in the local elections badly. The Labour did. And of course, Tommy Robinson had his big Unite the Kingdom thing. It was very peaceful, as they always are. Conservatives tend to be. And it was gigantic. I don't know the total numbers, but there were at least hundreds of thousands of people there. At least. Right? Now, some people are, but like Benny Johnson, but he's a propagandist. Millions. It looked like hundreds of thousands to me.
It's rare when you see millions in the street. It's pretty rare.
It's very rare.
Yeah.
Right. However, it was a very big deal. Keir was just deriding them. These are a bunch of hateful Nazis. He just on and on and on and on about it. Now his day is done. But what we need is the vast majority of the British people to stand up and, put these either whether
remember who the fuck they are.
Yeah.
For God's sakes, Brits. You were the terror of the whole world for 150 years, 1,000 years if you want to go back far enough. You dominated. Yeah. You had rivals, but everybody respected you. Everyone.
That's true.
They took the richest men maybe on planet, or at least in this hemisphere, to come together and be like, listen, we can't deal with these fucking crown fucks anymore. We got to get out of this. Yeah. It took that for them to sacrifice everything, put it all on the line, all in.
What are you talking about, John
to get you out of here. Well, John Hancock, George Washington, he was rich as fuck too. These men were wealthy, super
Hancock
wealthy.
Was stupid wealthy, yeah.
Stupid wealthy, and he put it all on the line, every last bit of it.
And his
life is in his sacred honor, his fortunes, all of it.
Yeah, they lost a lot.
Yep.
Yeah.
And my point is, it took all that just to free the Americas from your grasp, and that wasn't even your century yet. The next century was where you really kicked ass. The crazy thing about the Brits is if they just could find their balls again, they could be a problem. They're a small little island nation when you look at them. They're not that big.
No.
But yet they dominated the world. They effectively ruled the world. Their language became the global trade language. Their money was the global reserve currency until we took over. There's no...
Yeah. And it's
ridiculous.
Them, to be fair.
We're a super version of them. We're them on cocaine. Right. We're the wild.
No,
Be a
that's
little
true.
crazy.
And of course, there were several things that led into that, but the ultimate demise was, and it shows you how broken they are, because they love their queen. They praise
Yep.
Elizabeth, but she is directly responsible for their downfall.
Yep.
Directly. And yet they praise her. She's the worst thing that happened to them. And
Well, they
but that
also
but that tells you
they,
they don't understand, right?
no, they're lost. They're completely lost. They also lost World War II and they didn't realize it
They
because
did
yeah, on
lose
paper
badly, yeah.
we beat Germany, right? Yeah, okay. Well, you lost everything, Britain. You lost your whole empire for that war. So who
Yeah,
really lost here?
that's true.
Germany got pushed back to basically where it was before the war, and you lost everything. America's the only one who really won that war, and that was only because economically we were the only ones left standing.
That's true. That is true. But it's yeah, that whole situation really went really went sideways for them. And it wasn't just, but there were some things that had, I don't want to get into that conversation, but there were a couple of things that happened with that, because those assholes effectively crowned Montgomery, who was a shit general, right?
Yes.
I don't care what you tell me, you can argue with it all day. They killed Patton. They killed him. And the reason why
Yep.
is
I,
because
I agree.
I think he was more popular than
Eisenhower,
I no the other one, MacArthur,
um,
right?
MacArthur.
I think
Yeah.
he was more powerful, popular than any of those guys. And he was really pushing, dude. We need to deal with Russia. We need to keep pushing. This is the opportunity. We need to get to it. He was right.
Yep.
But they had
Well, he
made
also
deals and they didn't want to do that. And they know if he started speaking to the American people, there would be pushback, strong pushback, and they killed him. I'm
once he
telling you,
saw
they
what the
killed him.
Soviets were up to,
Yeah.
he said quite literally, "We killed the wrong enemy. We should have sided with the Nazis to stop the Soviets." He
Yeah.
said that. Those are his
He was
words.
right.
And by the way, a lot of the World War II vets, my grandfather included, agreed with him.
Oh yeah.
Agreed with him that we killed the wrong enemy. If they had known what the Soviets were doing and known what they would do after, the Nazis were right to oppose them. Not saying the Nazis were right about everything, obviously, but they were right. The reason Nazism existed was communism. It was an answer to communism.
It
They're
was.
trying to drive the communists out.
It was. Yeah. That's exactly what they were doing. And that's why you saw them before any of that got to that point. You saw them over in Spain helping to push the communists
Yep.
out, right? Which no one
Yep.
talks about that, right? The
No.
fact that they saved Spain, the Germans. But yeah, no. But that I don't want to get into a World War II conversation, but I'm just saying that it does piss me off because I just it's quite clear to me they killed Patton.
No, absolutely.
And yet they crowned
He
that shit Montgomery. My God. If you guys have never studied any World War II stuff, I'll give you a deep dive. Go look at Montgomery. That piece of shit. What an absolute pain in the ass. He actually almost ruined everything because he's
right.
so lame and useless. Right?
Patton wouldn't follow the script, and they
No,
knew
he
that.
didn't. Well, he crossed the Rhine, right? And he
Yep.
took Montgomery's glory, and Montgomery was just beside himself, so upset. How dare you take
It,
my headline, right?
if they had just unleashed him, he would have ended the war a year sooner. I believe that wholeheartedly. But they threw him down in North Africa because he slapped some idiot, and slowed everything down. If they hadn't have benched him effectively, he would have been able to beat the Soviets to Berlin.
Which is probably why he didn't listen and just crossed the Rhine on his own with
Yeah,
a
he
few
said,
little
"Fuck this."
fishing boats. Yeah,
Fuck this.
right. Yeah, keep in mind this. You haven't studied it, but Patton crossed the Rhine. Which keep in mind for thousands of years, no one has been able to do that.
That's right.
Nobody.
That's right.
Right. Um, he crossed it with battalions, just taking
Yep.
fishing boats, crossing a little bit downriver. He got all the way across, had a little bit of skirmishing, lost 28 men. 28 men.
That's right. 28 old
Right.
men.
28. And moving along, of course, all the proper, generals are smiling to themselves quietly because, Montgomery was very upset because he had his big plan. He spent stupid amount of money to do a big breach and cross the Rhine, which he did like a couple weeks later, 3 weeks later. He did
Yep.
cross it, even though he's upset because Patton already got the headline, literally in the newspaper. But how many people do you think Montgomery, with his gigantic multi-million-dollar plan, all his equipment, his huge armies coming to try to cross the Rhine, how many people do you think he lost?
Tell me.
Thousands upon thousands upon
Yeah,
thousands.
that's right.
And
That's right.
frickin' Patton got it done. And of course, that group he took across the Rhine, he took all the way to frickin' Berlin, by the way.
That's
He
right.
didn't
They didn't stop.
he didn't get reinforcements.
He was going so fast, rolling over the Germans, he outran his supply
He
lines.
did.
The man
Yeah.
would not stop. He was on a mission to beat the Russians to Berlin. He unfortunately didn't because the politics. Really, it was just politics. It was just same old bullshit.
It was
that stopped him.
Washington, which of course was actually London. As
Patton
usual.
was probably the greatest American general, and he's definitely one of the greatest of all time.
Oh, he was.
He just is.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that he stormed through that much of Europe, war-torn Europe, that took years and years to fight back for everybody else, and he was just rolling them Germans like they weren't even there. And they were there. He was mowing them down.
Yeah, because
It's amazing. Like it was like a reverse blitzkrieg, but he just kept going.
That's right. And one of the things he did, because remember earlier I had mentioned that one of the things that terrified all these world militaries was not that the Americans are braver or stronger, because they weren't. They're just people. But it was
Just crazier.
because of their chaotic, not chaotic system, right?
Yep.
Of
Organized chaos.
Yeah, that's right. Everyone is independent, and you got to get it done. It's every part of the organism is dangerous, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
what Patton did was took that to the regimental level,
That's right.
where most of it is happening more at the smaller, like platoon level. There are so many people that got awards for doing amazingly brave things, who were low-ranking people. Do you know how many people
That's right.
who are like non-officers got awards in America? That never happened in any other military. It was only
Right.
America. But he did that
Yeah.
at a regimental level. And
Well,
and
one of the
basically
things-
it's wild Indians just packing through frickin' in brigade size, is packing through frickin' Germany.
One of the things that we used to do, I don't know if we still do it, I could probably look. One of the things we used to do, you're very right, is the reward structure went all the way down to the very lowest level.
It did.
Well, because they didn't used to teach them that obviously you had to follow orders and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, sure.
But your first and foremost duty was to the man next to you, period. Period. Not in case of, period. Keep your brothers alive.
That's right.
That's your job.
That's your
And that's why the American military was so versatile and so dangerous.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't about keep your officers alive. It wasn't even necessarily first and foremost complete the mission. No. First and foremost, keep your brothers alive.
That's right.
And then complete the mission.
That's right.
And that switch mentally is what makes the American warfighter the most effective and efficient warfighter in the history of the world. And it's not close.
Yeah.
It's not because we're better. It's just we have a different mentality.
That's right. And it's that independent, each part of the organism is capable of function, which is very alien to most militaries throughout.
Well, it's also, it was learned because especially in modern warfare, where industrialized warfare, we learned very quickly that about 20% of men will just shut off. They freak out. They panic. They don't really do anything. They can't. Their bodies just won't.
Sure.
Even trained, doesn't matter. But if you teach them, hey, your job is not to obey your officer right now. Your job is to keep your friend alive.
Yeah.
A lot of them will snap out of it.
Yeah, refocus them. Well, another thing that for the Germans particular, that they just were absolutely baffled. If I asked you, Grimlock, what is the most standard banter amongst the American war GIs? They're just general day-to-day banter. What do you think it was?
Things that went on back home.
Now, I'm sure a lot of that happened, but mostly bitching.
Yeah.
Bitching and complaining constantly, right? And laughing about it at the same time. The Germans were baffled. They didn't understand this because a German soldier does not bitch or complain. My God,
that's right.
You don't.
He follows what was allowed.
They were not allowed to, and they just didn't understand this with the Americans. What the hell is that?
He's
right?
bitching and complaining, but yet they still keep winning. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Are they disloyal? No,
Yeah.
no, they're just bitching,
They
just
just
letting it
never
out.
run into that. And like I said, going back to the conversation earlier, where did we learn this from? The Indians,
Yes,
Work.
right?
true. Yes, but you treat your squad or your platoon or whatever the division is as your boys. These are your
They are your
brothers. This is your
boys, they're your
family.
brothers.
So you complain, you bitch, you bicker. You might even fight with each other, but nobody else hurts them. That's it. You don't fuck them up. Somebody messes with your boys. That's how it is,
That is.
and that's why they win.
And
That's
it's a
it.
little bit of the frontier spirit because,
Yes.
and that's part of it, right? Because when you look at other, since we're talking about World War II, we look at other units throughout that war where there's some other people who had success when they shouldn't have, particularly the Australians, right? Now they're very
Right.
proud of those things, and fair enough, they should be. But these Australians, they are like us because they're frontier people too,
Yeah.
right? That's where they're coming from. And they're another continent of bastards, as Thundera likes to say. And if you go look at some of their success, Gallipoli and all those kind of things like that, they had a very similar but unique way of doing things to us because they had similar experiences, right? Now the Americans were sharper at it because we literally were fighting for our lives in a lot of places. Do keep in mind with the Americans after the Civil War, particularly, because during the Civil War, everybody was, busy, and we weren't really able to take care of our homesteaders and our settlers out west at all, and a lot of them
Yeah.
got wiped out. And after the war,
Yes.
we really went to try to fix that problem. But you had generals who are sent over and to try to see what they could do about the situation, and they basically sending letters back to Washington saying, "Wow, it's only a matter of time. This place is going to be completely empty, and we'll have no people here whatsoever." That's how
Right.
brutal the Indians were. And they were like, "Yeah, this is just going to be depopulated. There's nothing here." And it was Sherman, who is an absolute bastard. That's an evil son bitch right there, right?
Yep.
He put a guy in charge who was more evil than him. And he took that Ranger tactics and just brutalized the Indians. And a lot of people complain about that. And he had a lot of politicians in Washington complain about it because we got a lot of things back. You know what they never did? Stop them from doing it because he
Yep.
was effective. And when we started getting all those treaties that are still in standing today, it was because they respected the brutal, just inhuman actions that they were taking. So when a lot of people say, "Oh, the American government did horrible things to them," well, not really. Mostly, a lot of that was vigilante action. But when we did get that guy in, that general, who I can't remember his damn name, but he did take it to him, boy, and that's when we started having them push back, like Red Cloud and all that kind of stuff like that. But in the end, the Indians, who still bitch to this very day, in the end, all those chiefs in Hollywood shows you, oh, they died poor and impoverished on plantations. The fuck they did. Those fuckers got rich, dude.
Yeah.
They got huge amounts of land, monies, big houses, train companies. Those Indians were paid in the end of the 19th century, dude. Paid, especially the leaders. And it's just amazing to me how much people will sit and complain about dumbass shit that we know we have. We have the history. It's right there. You know. But that one especially pisses me off because those Indians got paid, dude. They got rich. The leaders did. Now, what those leaders did, were they honorable? Did they take care of their people? Some of them did. And some of them were like, fuck off. I got mine. But what do you
Yeah.
expect from a bunch of savages?
Pretty much.
Yep.
Pretty much.
Yep. Anyway, so sorry to disparage your people, but they're not.
Who's mine?
Yeah.
No. They're pieces of shit.
Yeah.
By and large.
Monsters. The funny
Yeah, they
thing
weren't.
is,
weren't
where
good.
the Comanche weren't actually a people. We already talked about this before. They weren't a tribe per se. They were like bandits, really. But Do you know
Right.
who the worst frickin' Indians were as far as, like full like cannibalism? I mean, real everything you could imagine that a horrible thing that a human could do. You know where the worst ones were?
Who's that?
California.
Really?
California. And look at all these Californians constantly talking about stolen land. They want to get money to those freaking Indian tribes. They were ridiculous in their brutality. They would eat their enemies. They were full on cannibals. I mean, the most horrific things you can imagine, they did that. And yet the Californians sit there and defend them. And honestly, I'm surprised that they didn't all get murdered anyway, because that would have been the proper response. I don't know. The thing is, we don't really teach the Indian history in America very well, do we? Because when I was in school,
No.
Which is a lot of these.
we didn't really talk about much. How about you guys?
No, no,
When you
you're
were in school, did they teach you anything?
just that
Nobody
white
talks.
man bad.
Oh well, yeah, that. We have an Indian in here ourselves. Hello, Alan. He says
Old
General
white man
Motors.
bad.
I don't know why he said General Motors. You'll have to elaborate there, Alan.
Chief Pontiac.
What do you say?
Chief Pontiac.
A cheap Pontiac. Well,
Yeah.
honestly, the eastern ones were much better than the ones in the plains and the West Coast. To be fair, they were still horribly violent and destructive, of course, especially the Iroquois nations. But we did run into some that were kind of a little bit better on the East Coast, to be fair. But once you got past the Mississippi, boy, it was on. I'm
Yeah,
still waiting for Alan's response. Why do you think he said General Motors? Why do you think?
I don't know.
You know, you know,
That is a good question.
it is. Well, did you know? Since we were talking about World War II and waiting on Alan, I will take the General Motors and make something out of it. General
Oh,
Motors, amongst all the other car companies in America, of course, built the military vehicles for the Army, the American Army, right? And
yeah.
uh, just Pontiac, as Grimlock had mentioned, would you like to know how many just trucks, just cargo trucks, no other type of vehicle, not Jeeps or tanks or any of the other kind of thing, just trucks, that Pontiac factory. Do you know how many trucks they made during the war and sent over to Europe?
I would say a few 100,000 usually.
500,000 just from the Pontiac plant alone.
I can believe that.
It's insane. And the Germans, there's actually a nice little there's like a journal from a German mechanic, and he and his team, they got the very first GMC, the Pontiac truck was captured. They got a hold of it, tore it apart, and took a look at it, right? And
Hmm.
there's a journal from him that goes from that moment to all the way to the end of the war, of course, and him talking about his experience with American vehicles because, he's a mechanic. He's got to talk mechanic stuff. And they just couldn't believe it because compared to a German truck, it's a piece of shit. The Opel would have been the German version of it, right? And it was like, this is our vehicle is so much better. But they understood as soon as they saw it, every bolt needed one wrench. Everything was easily accessible. Everything was labeled. The manual, they literally in his journal, he said, a child could repair this. And he said in his journal that he mocked the Americans and thought they were idiots for building such a simple and primitive truck. But his sergeant said, no, 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 that shit's genius. And he was right.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever seen that journal? You ever read that?
No, but his
I've read it.
general.
It's pretty interesting. Yeah. It's much better than Helen Keller. I can tell you that. Or that, not Helen Keller. Who was the little lesbian girl who was in the ad? Huh?
Anne Frank.
Anne Frank, yeah.
Yeah, and Frank, yeah.
Anne Frank. It's a lot better to read it than that. Because that whole thing, they go on about Anne Frank, and it's sad, I guess, to be sure. But mostly, if you look at her journal, which is another thing I had to read in school, by the way, it's all about her lesbian desires toward other girls. That's the whole, like
Yep.
90% of it is her lesbian lust. Very little of it is actually about what they push, the Nazis and stuff like that. Did you guys have to read the Diary of Anne Frank?
No.
Yep.
Yeah, I had to. Which is a weird thing. I mean, even it was high school when I read it, but I'm still like, I don't know if it was appropriate though. I guess we're high school kids, so it's fine. But it is quite an adult thing if you haven't read it. Anyway,
Well, I'll say they shared some stuff when I was a kid because I don't remember reading anything about her wanting to eat puss.
that's what she was on about. That was a horny little girl, I'll tell you that. But anyway, you can remember the general's name. Couldn't. You couldn't remember the general. Oh, yeah, I can't remember his name offhand. It's not coming to me at all. Which I don't know. I should be able to. Sherman send him over because the president told Sherman to get it done, and then Sherman just sent another general to do it, and it was a good choice. He did get it done. But anyway, I've been trying to kill time here because I don't really have anything else to talk about as far as entertainment today. But I guess I'll talk about the one article I have, and that's all right. We'll just finish early, no problem. But there's nothing to talk about, guys. It's a weird, dead entertainment moment this week. So, but we have this one I thought was worth talking about.
See what we got. Hang on. Get Discord going.
You got to read it correctly, by the way. Make sure
The Expendables.
Thank you.
All-female Expendables movie back in development. Oh, God. Just what nobody asked for. Yep.
Now, this is actually they are going forward with this, and I'd never heard it before, but I'm not surprised. They are going forward with this. However, it is kind of interesting because Expendables is just schlock popcorn film, right? It's basically nostalgia for all the great action heroes of the 80s and 90s, right? Even a little bit of 70s, right, with Chuck in there. But that's all it is. It's just a little bit of nostalgia schlock, and it's fun. I've seen, I don't know, 2 or 3 of them, and they were just fun little action movies. This, however, is of course very, very different because
Right.
if they were just making a female version with female action stars, which there aren't enough, then okay, fine. But actually, they're not doing that. This is an origin story, meaning these girls are the ones that gave the guys the idea, you see, right? And
Of course.
none of them are actually 80s or 90s action lady heroes like Cynthia Rothrock or something like that, right? None of them. They're just going to be the modern Hollywood, typical hires, right? And it's going to be about them showing the men how it's done. Now, they ain't learned shit, have they?
No.
They ain't learned
They're just going to
shit,
keep
dude.
losing money.
Because this is dead already, and you haven't even cast anybody. It's so ridiculous. This
Now,
TV
you
show
could have
broke
done
it.
this where it was a side mission or something.
Yeah, but they're not,
But
though.
to be the origin, yeah, fuck off.
Yeah. Now, the guy who did Legally Blonde is the one who's going to be directing
Who
it.
the fuck? Who the
But
fuck did-
yeah, I haven't seen that movie. Although a lot of people do like that movie, though. It's from Lionsgate, of course.
Yeah, it's a good movie for a chick flick.
Sure.
You don't think that guy, like, if I wanted to, that's not to say that people can't be versatile, but, like, if you're doing an action movie, you're not thinking, oh, let's go get the guy who did Legally Blonde.
Well, I mean, that's what they did. and Gina Carano's in the movie. She could be, but just keep in mind they're not doing the concept because Expendables is just pure schlock, right? It's like, hey guys, you remember, you know, these action
Right.
heroes, what they did, but they're not doing that with a female version. They're not taking old action hero ladies from the past. They're not doing that. They're just
Right.
simply casting actresses. Now, will Gina be put in? Why not? I mean, why not? If Gina can get paid, get paid. Now, like I said, there's nothing much of this story because it's stupid. It's dead on arrival. We all know this. However, because I was looking through the normal stuff, trying to see if there's anything interesting, and this is what I had, right? Now, Gina Carano and Ronda Rousey fought, and Ronda won, but it wasn't much of a fight.
I don't
Uh,
remember.
now, I don't know why it's publicity stunt against with that. Who's that idiot kid that went over and was looking at dead people in Japan? Fought Mike Tyson.
No, well, no. Logan is the one who went and looked at the dead people. Jake is his brother. And
Yeah, no,
Jake's the one who
Logan.
runs
It's
that company.
Logan. Is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, whatever. Paul was in charge, and you know, whatever. This is a publicity stunt. It's not real because the simple fact these two girls when they were and Ronda had success when they came up there were no female fighters, right? So we didn't have, you know, well-trained ladies from a young age and a system, a camp. We didn't have any of that existed when they were coming up. So
Yeah.
they had their time, but honestly, if you took either one of them in their prime and you put them again against the current lady fighter today, the current ladies would wipe the floor with them because the
Yes.
current ladies are these are generationally trained, right? Is where we are now. I don't know why they decided to do this publicity thing. Whatever. They seemed to have some fun. They had big smiles on their face. They were happy. So cool, right? Whatever. I don't care. A lot of a lot of this here is complaining and saying this is stupid, and they're dude, just relax. It's a PR thing. Just like the people that got upset with Tyson and Paul. It was obviously a PR thing, dude.
Right.
Because Tyson, we saw if you watch, I watched it. Tyson was lighting that kid up and then realized, oh shit, I bet I got to back up, right? You saw it happen. And so we know that Tyson was not supposed to win that. And he didn't, so he did it with it's the same thing with this. It's just this stuff. But anyway, they got stuff talking about, the rings of what is it? The lanterns thing. Don't give a shit. Do you guys give a shit?
No.
No, I don't care. Uh James Gunn is still talking like he's actually going to make anything else, and his Man of Tomorrow is supposed to be centered on Brainiac, an incarnation of Satan. Yeah, okay, no one cares. You ain't going to do it anyway. Uh, do you guys care that Masters of the Universe is trending low? Do you care?
No.
No.
Don't care. Do you care about?
As soon as I saw them cast Idris Elba as Man at Arms, I wanted the movie to fail.
Yep. Um, but we'll see. People might like it. That the super ultra woke James Bond video game, the super woke one where he's a kid and the women are in charge. There's like a new guy who I've never heard of. Do you care? Don't. No, I don't
Nope.
care.
Nope.
Do you care about Spider-Man Brand New Day with a new poster? Do you care?
I would have. I would have if they had actually went with what they set up. So at the end of the last movie, they set up him just being friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, basically, right? It
Right.
was kind of a soft reset of him, and they're clearly deviating away from that and doing more big stakes bullshit. And I don't want that. I just wanted a nice fucking gang war story, right? Why couldn't we have that? Why did we have to do this nonsense? I don't understand how they still, to this day, cannot de-escalate. They don't know how. They escalated, and now every single movie comes out has to have some big fuck off, world-ending stakes or whatever the fuck. It's stupid. It's boring. It's played out. Spider-Man especially doesn't need that. He's never needed that. All of his best stories are not that,
No, he's
and they
he's
just
definitely street
refuse.
level. Yeah.
Yeah, they refuse to just let him be him. It
Um,
sucks.
Roger, just to answer your question, John is working on. He actually has work, and he's working on a project. That's why you've heard from him because he's got his nose down, drawing every day. I'm sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's got
what I
actual work,
understand.
actual work. But yeah, no, I agree 100%. Read this headline because I do love this headline. The Daredevil one. Go ahead. It's funny.
Hang on. Which one? Oh, the Daredevil one. Daredevil Born Again season 2 loses to Temptation Island on Nielsen.
Wow.
See, and for me, it's a little vindicating. I get a lot of people really like the Daredevil show. I'm just not one of them.
Oh no,
And
this current one, no one likes.
well, yeah, but I mean the OG one. But it's
Oh,
the
the OG
same
one, yeah.
guys, except for obviously creatively it isn't.
Oh, it's
Uh,
completely different creatively, yeah.
it's a shame that they've done this, but everybody should have seen it coming.
Yeah.
Disney is not going to let it go. I've been saying it since the beginning. I said 23, 24 is when you'll start to see the real death of woke stuff. It'll stop. It'll just die on the vine. It will stop being pushed so hard. Now we have Trump as president again. They've done everything they can to kill DEI bullshit. It doesn't sell at all. Anything if it gets something gets labeled woke, it pretty much always fails now, except for very few exceptions. It's done. Its cultural cachet is over.
It
It
is.
lost.
It
They
has.
lost.
It did.
Now,
And it honestly
that
lasted
being
too long.
said, Disney will not give it up. They will never give it up. Disney was the progenitors of it. They've been doing it for 40 years. They're doing it my whole life. All these movies in the 90s that everybody loves, when you break down what happens in a lot of them, it's some feminist bullshit.
Oh sure.
It is. It's girl
But
power as fuck.
they
And
got away with it because they're princess movies. That's why.
yes, they got away with it because of princess movies and because most of them were well made. Like my favorite and only one that I even like is Aladdin, and it's probably the least so of the group, right? Because it's still really just about Aladdin, and Jasmine is literally just his prize.
I'll be back in a minute.
Disney's been on this hog for a very, very long time. At Disney Channel back in the day, if you watched any of the shows back then, obviously I didn't watch them, but I was aware of them. They were hyper pushing narrative all over. Whether it was the bumbling father trope or the young boys who can't stay out of trouble ever trope. The girls are always competent, the boys are always retarded trope, blah 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 blah. They were always pushing something of that description, right? It was very rare where you saw a competent, stable man. Unless, of course, he happened to not be white. Then it was allowed. But a white guy, no, you wouldn't see that often. They've been on the narrative my entire life. I've said for a long time, and people don't like to hear it, but it's the truth. Disney is point A and point Omega of this damn thing. They're not going to give it up. As long as they have the money to lose money, they're going to keep losing money because they are on a crusade. They don't care about making money. They honestly should be sued into oblivion because that's illegal. They're a publicly traded company. They're supposed to only care about making money, or at least preemptively, supremely. They clearly don't because they keep putting out bullshit that everybody with a brain will tell them isn't going to make any money. And what do you know? Bob's your uncle. They don't make any damn money. They bought the biggest franchise in the history of the world, turned it into a joke. Star Wars movies coming out. Anybody give a shit? You heard anybody talk about it like, oh, wow, I'm so excited. In 2012 when The Force Awakens came out, everybody was excited. We were hopeful. We were like, oh, man, I hope Disney does something great with it. Well, whoops. Well, I shouldn't say everybody. I wasn't, because I knew what they were going to do. I remember the day, Grimlock, I remember the day that the news broke that George Lucas just sold Star Wars, all of it, to Disney. I didn't cry. Like, I'm not that much of a little bitch, but I was pretty upset because I knew what was going to happen. I knew. I even told my wife, I said, man, this ain't a good day. I'm having a bad day. They're going to destroy that. They're going to destroy Star Wars. And what do you know? What do you know?
Look who won the pony.
Look who won the fucking pony. The same thing happened when they got Marvel. I wasn't happy. I was like, this isn't good. This isn't good. Luckily, Marvel was already kind of on its course when they got it, right, at least in the movies. They were already heading a certain way, and thankfully, they basically just kept going that way. They made some alterations. Like, I still think they changed Thanos' narrative. They originally had set him up to be the obsessed Mad Titan, obsessed with death thing, and they backed away from that to do something else, which, whatever. But mostly it was already on its rails, and they kept it on the rails, and it was fine. But as soon as they ran out of rails, boy, did it go into the shit house with a quickness. And it has yet to come out. And I don't know if it's ever going to. Probably not. Probably not. When you make a Fantastic Four movie, you decide for some reason to cast a Hispanic as Reed Richards. Makes no fucking sense. Then you decide to cast a woman who looks weird. She's just weird looking. As Sue, right? Everybody's the mom of Marvel. They cast her. She just looks weird. Nothing motherly about her. Like, just what are we doing? What are we doing? Then Johnny, he was the least egregious, I guess, but he's not Johnny enough, right? He's not. He nothing about this guy comes off that way. And then of course our boy, old Ben. We're just going to leave that alone. We're not even going to talk. We're not even going to go there. Not even going to get into those weeds. How bad this whole situation was. But the worst one, the most egregious, was that fuckwit as Reed Richards. It killed it. Killed it. As soon as he was cast, it killed it. They could have probably made $1 billion on that movie, because by and large, that movie was okay from what I understand. Didn't do anything too fuckery, right? But they couldn't help themselves.
Well,
they had to do it. Yep, female Silver Surfer. Dickhead is Reed Richards. I'm not even going to justify him by calling him his name. I won't. I refuse.
Well, this guy who you wish not to name, have you noticed that over the past month or month and a half, he's just taken his mask off? Have you noticed that?
Yeah. Yep.
He's just letting his gay flag fly, boy, big time.
Yep.
He was like on like one of the last episodes of Colbert, and he actually kissed Stephen on the mouth. He's out at the
that was a shock to anybody that goes to these faggots.
No, but I mean, my point with him is you always know he's a gay dude. But he kind of kept it quiet, but now he's just full on now. He's just out.
Not really.
No, he's more than before, dude. I've noticed that he's definitely just let it go. Right? And I don't have a problem with that, actually. I don't really care. But I just noticed that he's just showing his gayness a lot more recently.
Yep. No, it's what I was getting at is Disney is the problem. They've been the problem. They're going to continue to be the problem. I say this without irony. Disney must be destroyed. If you want to actually destroy wokeness, or at least take its ability to influence culture away entirely, which it basically already has, Disney has to go. All of it. As soon as Walt died, that place got swung on down by vultures, gobbled it up, and turned it into something he would barely recognize if he was still alive.
I'm sure he would not be happy. That is true.
No, not at all. And because believe it or not, I know people, this crazy idea, Walt Disney was a patriot. That man loved America.
Straight on, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, he would not be happy with globalist Disney at all. So my point is, the reason why you see this stuff coming out of Disney still, why there's a Star Wars movie coming out here, this week, I think, and nobody gives a fuck.
Is there?
Nobody cares. Yep. Exactly. They took the greatest franchise in the history of the world, and nobody cares. And they did it in under a decade. It's impressive. When you think about it.
Yeah, it is. It's true. Here's an image of a more clean image of Zelda, like a finished image. And here, and of course, we have the boy. Yeah, okay, cool. Nintendo's very excited for you to see this movie. They've actually moved its release date up a week or so. They
Cool.
really want everyone to see it. So, and it is Nintendo, so it might be fun.
Looks like she looks fine.
They
looks
both do.
fine.
They do.
Yeah, they did a good job.
Yeah. So but I didn't. That's why I didn't think it was worth looking at because okay, wait till it comes out. We got a little bit on the cast, I guess. Ahsoka season 2. Do you care?
No.
Anybody? No, nobody cares. We want to see the cast announcements for Batman, I guess. I guess we can do that.
Let's see what we got.
Let's see here. Of course, Robert Pattinson. All right. And Jeffrey Wright is Gordon. Fair enough. We have snow tires on the Batmobile. Excellent. Okay.
Yep.
Colin Farrell is back as Oz Cobblepot, of course. Yeah.
Yep.
Gil Perez Abraham as Officer Martinez. Okay. Okay. Andy Serkis is, of course, back as Alfred. What'd you guys think of Andy as Alfred?
No, he's unfortunately the worst part, in my opinion, of that movie. And it's not his fault. Andy's a great guy, great actor, but he's just not Alfred. He doesn't fit.
No, my favorite. All the animated ones are probably the favorite, but I did like Michael Caine though.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, Mike Caine's pretty cool. Yeah, there's nothing really here. That's why I didn't really put it up.
Yeah, exactly. He's Michael Caine. Of course he is.
Yeah, he is.
No, that characterization was Alfred is the best live action Alfred. Period. He protects him. He's always looking out for Bruce. Right? He's his dad. That's what he is. He's not his father, but he's his dad, and he takes that very seriously. That role.
He does, and he played that well in that of being the mentor and the father figure. He did a great job, and of course, as Grimlock said, it's Michael Caine. What do you want?
It's Michael fucking Caine.
It is. Now, I'm just over here looking at the box office stuff. This, of course, is 2 weeks old, I guess, second week, third week, with Michael. This is making money, dude. Look at that. People are liking it. They're enjoying it.
And it hasn't even hit Japan and Korea yet.
Probably not. I haven't seen or heard of it. Yeah. Yeah. But that's cool. Like I said, we talked about a little bit. It doesn't really seem to be getting into the story hardly at all. It's mainly just like a concert movie where you have this kid doing the songs and portraying Michael. But hey, people like it, so
What a surprise! The king of pop is still a king, even in his grave.
People do. People do love.
All these people out here talk about, I'm bigger than Michael ever was. Fuck off! No, you're not. First of all, but half the country doesn't even know your name. Everybody knows Michael Jackson's name on the planet.
Who said that?
Everybody. A bunch of these modern retards have been trying to say that shit. Get out of here.
Who?
Exactly, Chester. The fact that you're saying that word to me tells me that I don't even need to tell you their name because that's the point. You don't even know them.
I don't know.
But you know Michael Jackson.
Well, Michael Jackson was really, really professional. He was a great entertainer. It's Michael Jackson, dude.
He was a devout Christian, by the way. That's the other part nobody talks about. The man was a very Christian man.
Well, they didn't like that. I know that.
Yeah, they didn't like speaking about that because, of course, not. He didn't talk about it much, but he would mention it if brought up. In fact, there's an interview of him out there. I can't remember exactly what he was saying, but basically he was just talking about how much he loves Jesus Christ effectively. Yeah. And the interviewer just ignores him and starts asking him about plastic surgery, and he just looks at her.
Yeah, what? Well, he did a lot of that. But the weird thing is, I only saw Michael once in concert. And it was in the weirdest place you can imagine. I was over here in Asia. I was in Taipei, and it was in Chiang Kai-shek Memorial, which is a gigantic palace structure. I mean, it's gigantic. You know how the Chinese love to have those just big open promenades?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And they set up a stage in there. I don't know, 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 people. I don't know. Just stupid number of people. and I didn't actually have a ticket to go in. I didn't actually attend the concert, but I was walking by with my girlfriend, who is now my wife, and we were walking by. We had been doing something else, and there's a big old banger going on, and we just stood at the gate and looked in because it's a big park, right? It's not a closed stadium, and there's Michael up on stage doing his thing, dude, in Taipei.
Yep. Nice.
So that's the only thing I ever saw with Michael, though. You guys ever go to Michael? Ever get to see him live?
No, I was a kid
Yeah.
back then.
I did
Before
not.
one.
Yeah. Like I said, I had no intention of seeing him. I just happened to walk by, but it was kind of cool. I also saw one of the very, very early X Games in that same place. And I met Tony Hawk and who was the BMX guy? Contemporary with Tony at the same, the very first one way back. I can't remember the BMX guy.
I can't remember his name either off the top of my head.
But I was just walking through and I had an interview with the local news in Taipei. I'm a musician, right? And they did, I don't know why, but they decided they wanted the X game because they were building all the stages for the X game in there. And they wanted that as their background for the interview for some reason or whatever. And I just sat there and did the interview with them. And after that, everyone's exchanging business cards because that's what Asians do. They're a business card culture. And I was talking to one guy. He was from ESPN. And those two guys just kind of walked up because they were working on, I don't know, they were working on something. And they were with the ESPN guy. They walked up and I talked to them a little bit. I didn't even know who they were at the time. I think maybe I knew who Tony was. But I met those two guys just by accident. Kind of weird, huh?
What are the chances?
Yeah, I know. Weird. Because both those things, I was not looking for it, right? I wasn't seeking it out. But anyway, I'm not even going to look at a Devil Wears Prada because no. Okay. Obsession. Little bit of money. It's from Focus.
Yeah.
That's not a bad little bang for Focus, dude. After breaking the mysterious One Wish Willow, okay, to win his crush's heart, a hopeless romantic finds himself getting exactly what he asked for, but soon discovers that some desires come at a dark, sinister price. Horror movie.
Oh,
Sweet.
oh boy.
Well, dude, that's Focus. The company Focus, right? That's not a bad little opening for them. That's pretty good for them, dude.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the premise of this movie is silly.
Oh well, they usually are. Yeah, especially horror movies, the dumbest stuff ever. They did a re-release of Top Gun Maverick. Nice.
I didn't even know that. I don't think they did that around here. Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick. Oh yeah, no, I did know about that. Yeah, that's right. They did a back-to-back double feature situation. Yep.
Yeah, why not? That sounds fun. And they made a little bit of money.
Talk to me, Goose. There's Mortal Kombat 2 up there. I see it.
Oh yeah, I passed
right there, number 4.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah,
101.
Right. I bet you.
I think it'll be all right.
You said they made more money in the first one, so.
Oh yeah, by quite a bit. They made more money than the first one the first week.
Yeah.
So they're probably happy with it. What they'll probably do is go ahead with the third one, just lower the budget a little bit, and he'll just have to work for what he's got.
Well, you never know. They might, because there's nothing really interesting coming. This might have legs, and it hasn't hit the whole world yet because it's not. I don't have it. It's not available for me until June. I'm going to go see it. My wife and I already planned. So, it might have some legs. It might pick up some money.
Well, it did pretty good. I mean, it was only at about 63 million, so it put on another 40 million, give or take, in one weekend. That's not bad. Second weekend.
Bad. We'll see. And this, of course, will make money wherever they drop it on streaming, and it'll be fine because I think what's the total budget on this? Like 80, 60?
What I understand, it's 80 to 100, somewhere in there. That's because we don't know the exact. But it's probably something more like 60 to 100 because what they do with the funny numbers over there is, yeah, they say this is their budget, but they don't tell you that they already have over half of it financed through ads, deals, and everything else. So the real number is usually a little lower. That's how they get away with losing money on these movies. Now, if they lose a lot, they lose a lot, right? But there is more wiggle room than we realize.
Right.
Obviously, they'd rather hit the big number and make everybody happy, but there's a reason they can pump out movies like this or like John Wick. That the first John Wick didn't make a lot of money. They produced it very cheaply, but it didn't make a lot of money. But they knew that there was something there, right? And I hope Warner Brothers, especially now that they're under new management, will see this. Like, okay, it doubled its revenue from the last time. There's something here. We just need to lock it in, dial it in, and bam. And I think that's what's going to happen, because I haven't heard a single person who's seen this movie say they disliked it, except for media faggots, but they don't matter. I haven't seen anybody else
Everything
say
I've seen
that.
has been positive. That's true. Alan says Michael was raised Jehovah Witness. Didn't know that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, well, it's still Christian, the type of Christian. They just get weird with what they think happens when you die. Their opinion
that, and they don't
afterlife
celebrate things. They don't celebrate holidays or anything.
Well, they're against that. They are against celebration. Yeah. But yeah, I didn't know that. So Mortal Kombat is doing what it's doing. Should I even?
Oh, it's so close.
It's so close. It's stalled.
Get
though.
there.
It's stalled.
It does feel like it's stalled, doesn't it? That's a shame. It didn't. I bet they might be disappointed. They probably wanted another $1 billion.
I imagine they did, but they've made their money though, without question.
Yes.
Which means we're going to get more stuff from them.
More Mario.
Yeah, more Mario, more Nintendo. And
I hope they can lock it in. I think Zelda will hit. People forget how big a deal Zelda is. Yeah. If they can lock it in with Mario in the next one, because I liked it, but the first one's just better. It's just a better film, better structured.
Sure.
It's funnier when it needs to be. Like Jack Black's little Peaches song is funny. They don't have anything like that in this one. I don't know why. Like, Jack's still there. He's still Bowser, so why can't he sing a song? Let him sing a little goofy little song. He's good at it.
He is good at it. He's good, but not great. But that's kind of perfect for who he is, though, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it works out. In the Gray, is this a take on that? It can't be like a part 2 of the Gray Man, is it? No way.
I don't believe so. No, I think it's just something similar. It's one of these movies that people are trying to say, see, Henry Cavill doesn't draw. Yeah, but I've never even heard of this until somebody said that on Twitter, that it didn't make a lot of money. Also, it's only in about half the theaters in the country, so it's not even a wide release. This is clearly just a salary movie. They're not trying to make a ton of money here.
Yeah, it's probably a salary. Because keep in mind, when we say salary movie, what we mean is it means two things. One, it gets some, more older or less popular at the moment people who are in good with Hollywood to get a little bit of a payday. But more importantly, what it is, in order to stay within the Actors Guild and all that stuff like that, you have to do a project every so often. You're required. Right. And salary movies are literally designed for that. They'll take some little weird script that isn't going to get put big money behind, and they'll just get everybody who needs to get some work to keep their name active, and they do that. That's what a salary film is. This might be that as well. Although,
did you see the leaks? The leaks from the Highlander set for the Highlander movie?
No.
It looks good. It looks good.
We did see that. Yeah, we did see that.
Yeah, they've got. Well, there's a bunch more have come out too of Henry, all ready to go, and a couple of the other people all ready to go, looking at in their outfits back in what would have been early, the beginning of the movie, basically back in Scotland. Yeah, no, I'm pretty excited for that film. I have a sneaking suspicion it's going to be one of those surprises of how good it is. I just do. I do. And the reason I do is because fucking cars. Oh, that's funny. Is because Russell Crowe is taking it very, very seriously. So if he's locked in, something about this has him excited, right? And I appreciate that. Which means, Russell, there's a very strong case to be made that of living active full-time actors, he is the greatest at the job. There's a strong case to be made. The man has won more awards than anybody else going. He's outrageous.
He's really good when he wants to be. That's true.
Yeah, when he locks in, boy. I mean, I talk about it all the time. He had that about 5-8 year run, however you want to delineate it, where he was automatic. He was going to give you a world class best of the year performance every year, easily, just knocking them out of the park.
Interesting. They are going for a different look, huh?
Yep.
And
I like it. I'm a fan. I hope it turns out well. I've always loved the Highlander, especially the first movie, and I liked the show. I thought the show was fun. Obviously, this doesn't have anything to do with that, but still. It'll really be down to how we get Kurgan, how Kurgan does. The guy who's playing him.
Bring it into modern times. They might want to do 2 or 3 movies, right? No,
They could. But yeah, no. If they do, it'll really depend on the villain, because the villain carries the movie. The first movie, especially, Kurgan's awesome. But also, the one thing we don't have, that we will not have, is a modern new Queen soundtrack to go with it, and that's a shame.
No, it is a shame. But
yeah.
One thing that I think they have an opportunity here, and I hope they take it, is to give us an actual continuity, right? An actual cosmology, because we had the first movie, and then they gave us whatever that second movie was. My God, what kind of drugs were they on, dude?
No,
do you really know?
It was so bad, Grimlock. Just the concept was so stupid. I mean, they had, the way they laid it out, they had a perfect opportunity to have something that was very, human, earth-based, archaic, right? An alternate version of the gods, right? The classic gods is what they could have done, but they made them aliens banished to Earth. I mean, what the hell is wrong with you, dude? I really want to know the drugs involved. Okay, doesn't matter. The Wizard of the Kremlin. Okay, it's from Vertical, so European. It might even be Russian.
It's about rescue. No,
it's about
Putin,
the advisor to Vladimir Putin. So it's about Putin, and it's probably not very friendly. But it made course, $8 million though.
A little money. Got a little money in the pocket.
A little bit. Oh, that didn't do it. It was only
one theater. Yeah.
Whatever. Just some kind of passion project.
Yeah, vanity project.
But I mean, guys, this is May. We are in May, right? And we've been covering, as we do every Sunday, we cover the movies, the box office, every Sunday, right? And 2 years ago, really bad movie year. Last year, worse. This year, have we had anything at all? Anything?
Like huge hits?
Such a desert this year, dude. There's nothing.
Well, there's still some coming, but we'll see if they do anything.
I mean, money, cool, but I mean,
it's been animated movies.
Yeah, it has been.
Animated movies have been killing it. They're the only thing making big money.
But every week when I look at it, I'm just like, it's a desert.
And you know, Hollywood's learning the wrong lesson from that. They're like, oh, people just want more animated movies. No, you retards. The animated movies are simple. That's what people want. Just tell us simple stories. You don't got to be all subversive. You don't know. No, just stop. Stop it. Get some help, as Michael once famously said.
Because he was forced to, because he did something naughty.
He did naughty thing. He was a naughty boy on occasion, old Michael Jordan.
On occasion.
He did cheat on every wife he ever had, many times.
But he is also the GOAT. So,
Yeah, I mean, at that point, women are just being selfish. Come on.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the women who got mad at Tiger Woods. Like, come on. What are we doing? He's the greatest golfer of his generation, maybe of all time. Yeah, of course he's got a bunch of women. Why wouldn't he?
Yeah.
He just got caught. That's the only difference. The other guys all had him too, I'm sure.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Except for Larry. He's a
Yeah.
bit ornery.
Yeah. Well, Larry was too cantankerous for that bullshit.
I think so.
And I'd imagine Tom Brady didn't have a bunch of women either because he's a bit of a simp. Best football player, best quarterback of all time, but he's a bit of a simp. It's crazy.
He's also obsessive about football. That's another issue with him. But yeah, it's really funny. You see a lot of these old guys from Jordan's time, and they really don't have much respect for modern players. They just don't think they're as good players. I've heard a lot of them.
Neither do I.
And the thing is, as the years go by and by, more and more of them keep saying how awesome Larry was.
Well, he was.
Right? And now, of course, Jordan, who is the GOAT, no one's arguing that. Of course, his choice for the GOAT is Larry Bird, right? Which he
played the man.
He did. But it is interesting that how much respect all those black men had for Larry Bird. But it's also interesting because I don't watch basketball anymore. I haven't watched it in decades. But I don't know if either one of you guys watch basketball. But why are these older players? Are they just bitter, or are they being realistic?
No, they're right. So the NBA changed a lot of the rules since their time, especially defensively. They're basically not even allowed to touch each other anymore. Whereas when they played, they could hand check. They could be physical, not like full on football style physical, but they could touch each other a little bit.
Right.
Now they're basically not allowed to at all. And that right there just takes a huge aspect of the game away automatically. The physicality's gone compared to what it used to be.
The NFL did this too.
Not to the level the NBA did.
Really?
Yeah, not like
really.
the NBA neutered itself.
Seen a few clips. They do travel a lot. I've seen that.
The NBA was the first of the major sports leagues to chase the phantom audience.
Yep.
That was the first one who decided to change, like Sundahl said, to change the rules for an audience that wasn't there.
Yep.
And in doing so, they've made, to me, it's almost unwatchable. You watch a bunch of guys you have your whole offense depending on having a dynamic point guard where you watch him dribble for 17 seconds and kick out to a bunch of spot up shooters. And they're really like, oh, today these guys are so skilled. It's like, motherfucker, just because you see 7-footers shooting 3-pointers now doesn't make them more skilled. They've just been given the green light.
Yep.
You had guys, anybody who played ball back in the day, even when I was playing ball, depending on what level of high school, college. When I was in high school, our coach straight up told us if you played the big positions, if you were the power forward or a center, and you was taking a three, he'd pull you from the game.
Yeah. Yep.
If he saw you pulling up for a three and you was the center or a fucking power forward, as soon as he could, your ass was sitting right next to him. So
interesting.
Everybody thinks that these guys are just they've been given a green light, and part of it is because the analytics faggots.
Yep.
Because analytics has ruined sports, especially baseball.
Oh my God, yeah, Moneyball, yeah.
Well, no, it's beyond Moneyball. It's way beyond Moneyball.
Oh, yeah, they went even further.
They actually had a little success with Moneyball, went after it, and absolutely burned the hell out of themselves. No, I know.
It's
Chasing the Dragon.
It's what Moneyball started as. It's way worse now.
Wow.
The launch angle shit, the three outcomes for swinging. There was a time where you played baseball and you had 200 strikeouts in a season. You was considered shit.
Right. Of course.
That is average.
Wow, that's not good. That is bad. No, Roger, that is right. We do know there's some stuff coming in June and July. I'm just surprised how much of a desert is all, Roger. But now you're talking about outside shooters, though. I mean, Larry Bird all day. I mean, that's what he was.
Well, yeah, but he was more than that.
He was, but I'm saying he was great at 3-pointers.
What made Larry great is that Larry was not gifted athletically, but like he like okay, you can't teach being 6'8". That part you can't teach. Um, but like he didn't have blowaway speed. He didn't have freakishly large hands like Jordan or Dr. J. He didn't have he didn't have the physique of some of the freaks of nature like a Will Chamberlain or things like that. But Larry just at a mental level, Larry just understood the game that very few people could.
That's true. No, he was good tactician. He was the best shit talker of all time.
And
Even
if
better than
and if
Charles
they had
Barkley.
and if they had better medical technology back then, if they had what was available now, Larry would have had it. Larry probably would have had at least 5 more years as like a top 10 player.
Baby.
Had,
No, he
had
was
some
cool.
stuff
But I don't,
available.
that's the past. I was just curious why the president is so shit. Because, I mean, that's what the old
It's
guys are saying.
it's horrible to watch.
Yeah.
And the young guys are like, "Oh no, you just hating." It's like, bro, it ain't hating. I
Well,
would love to say, yeah, okay, you you equate being athletic. For one, you conflate athletic with being skilled. That's not the same thing. Yes, are kids more athletically gifted than 30 years ago? Yeah, it's some of the kids that they have in the NBA right now, from an athletic standpoint, are unbelievable. And that's also because you have more athletic people having fucking kids with other athletic people.
yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure that's true.
That's,
Well,
well, no,
I,
that's a big part of it. Like, dude, right now, if I told you how many dudes in Major League Baseball right now are the sons of guys I grew up watching, it's
oh,
kind
yeah.
of ridiculous.
Legacy
And it's the
people,
same
yeah.
thing in the NBA.
Well, we
We,
we see this happen all the time. Of course, one of the as far as I'm concerned, the kind of quintessential wrestler is a third generation with the Viper,
yeah,
right?
Oh yeah,
So yeah,
Randall
that's
Keith Orton.
yeah, Randy Orton,
For
boy,
my
yeah,
money, the smoothest wrestler of all time. The man is like
unbelievable.
silk.
He is.
but I mean,
Um,
hell, look at the frickin' Steiners and Anawakis.
yeah.
They're all over the place.
Oh,
You
the
got you got
Polynesians, yeah.
you got the fucking Steiners in the NFL right now.
Oh, really?
Yep,
Oh, that's nice.
one of
Yes,
their boys is in there.
Rick Steiner is he's on the New Orleans Saints. He got picked up.
Oh,
He
nice.
said, I watched an interview with him. He said as soon as he's done with football, he's going to be a wrestler, but he's going to keep playing football as long as he can.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, football's only got about a 3 year average anyway. But
Yep.
they don't last very long. But when I was young, I did watch a lot of basketball, and then it got super ghetto, and I was like, nope, I'm out. And that was in the '90s, and late '90s maybe. And my only
I don't know.
actual
I
experience
would say
playing
the
was
rivalries was at their peak in the '90s.
I don't
That's
know.
another
It
thing.
just got too ghetto for me, dude. But my only actually playing was some
In the
pickup
'90s,
games and
nah,
horse.
I
I
got
played a
you.
lot of horse. A lot of horse.
I'd have to dispute the '90s. Maybe the mid 2000s, but not the '90s.
Well,
You still had
whenever it went ghetto, and I was done with it.
because I
Whenever
mean
that happened.
all of the good rivalries are still going. I mean, you you used to hear people chant "Beat LA" no matter what. It's like you wanted to see, like if you was in the Northeast, you wanted to see somebody beat the fuck out of the Celtics.
That's well, no,
Yes,
no.
I, dude, growing up, I didn't know a single person in New York who did not want to see Boston, somebody from Boston
Well, yeah, but it
see the
goes the other
Celtics
way
be
because
on.
you guys got the Knicks, so ha, fuck off.
I wasn't a Knicks fan. I was a Bulls fan. And I still wanted to see the Celtics get fucking kicked in the teeth
Well, yeah,
every
but
chance.
I know I lived in New York a lot, but I am from Rhode Island, so
Yeah, we know.
technically. So yeah, no, the Celtics are for forever. The hell with the rest of you. But but yeah. But I'm not a
Yeah,
basketball guy.
but that rivalry, that stuff used to mean shit.
It did.
Like
Same with New York and Boston, the Yankees and the Red
when
Sox.
you put on the Lakers and the Celtics, it was must see TV.
Yep.
They took out all the physicality. They took out, you can't fight no more. You can't be you can't be men on the court anymore. So it's like, so now you watch a bunch of men flip flopping like they're playing soccer. Like, nobody wants to watch. I don't want to watch that shit.
No. No. Yeah. But I haven't. I've seen
I,
some clips here or there, but
I mean,
not a lot.
I grew up in the era when fucking Michael would swing on you,
Oh yeah,
Yep.
no, sure.
especially if it was Reggie Miller, because everybody wanted to swing on Reggie Miller.
Right. And Dennis Rodman, of course, was a little bit of a loose
King
watch.
psychologist.
Yeah. But yeah, I just really just kind of got out of it. I didn't like the way it was going and all the just kind of ugly attitude with that. But and I've never been a baseball fan, and I was a football fan for a while until they went woke, and then I stopped watching that. So yeah, I don't really watch much sport anymore. They kind of ruined everything. But anyway,
They did.
I got to go to work. I got a
Go to
day ahead
work,
of me.
Chester. Go make that money. Money, money, money.
Well, I got to go to work, and then I got to go up to the city and give someone a talking to, and then I got to go to work again. So I got a busy day. But
I
I
like
def
that. I
yeah,
like
I
that.
You gotta take time off to scold.
oh, I'm gonna put the fear of God in somebody today.
Yeah. He's going full kaiju.
Yeah, I
Full
am.
kaiju monster is coming out. There might be a
There
report on
might
the news that a kaiju has attacked
there might be blood.
Fukuoka. Where are you going? What city are you going to? Going to Fukuoka? Gonna
Oi,
attack Fukuoka?
Oita. Yeah,
Oita?
yeah,
Oita's about to get it. About to get kaiju'd real hard.
they are. Yeah, there might be blood. Yeah, but anyway. So thank you guys all very much. Grimlock, you got anything you want to say to everybody?
Um, yeah, enjoy your week. If I need something cool to watch, one of the retro channels on YouTube has been marathoning old Astro Boy episodes. Retro Crush on YouTube. Enjoy some good old fashioned anime
Oh,
from
nice.
back in the day.
Sweet. Sounds good. All right. Well, keep in mind, guys, in 2 days, we are back on Bugbear's Basement. Puffin is going to be running his Feral game, and we're going to have our, we're going to start play. It's a super minimal system, so I'm not sure how it will work, but we'll give it a try for sure. So come on back for that. And of course, we also have Drawn Recorded as usual. But beyond that, thank you all very much, and Thundero takes out of here.
I do with the one that is my current status on Discord. You are not necessary. You are not fundamental. Remember that.
Ooh, namaste. Later, everybody.